majority. It's all over for the Christians in the South. You can't vote them out.
Okay, so of course, I'm going to be non bipartisan, right? I'm going to give an honest journalism here, but the brother talking, or sister, I believe it's a brother, is talking about Nigeria possibly ending up having similar issues as Sudan, where Nigeria may have to split between the north and the south. Same thing. It seems to be that the Christians in the north of African nations tend to be more Islamic, right? And this is kind of interesting. That's the situation.
You can't fight them out. They have the army, they have the military, they have all of the taxes that are going to fund their areas, and they have the poorest areas. So what doesn't make sense is these terrorist organizations that are going around in your country. There is no way they'd be going around without the full cooperation and support by the federal Nigerian government. And this is what I think. There is no way they'd be let. How can Boko Haram get all these weapons, get all these militias, kidnap kids, and you can't rescue these children? The only reason they're not rescued is because the government doesn't want to rescue them. They simply don't care. And I think we went through the same thing when they were kidnapping and killing our children and our people until we fought and we got fed up by this. And that's why we're two different independent states. So I have.
Now, I actually think South Sudan had to leave North Sudan. And actually, immediately after leaving North Sudan, South Sudan was doing well until they got into tribal conflict, right? If you look at the GDP per capita of the two nations, especially initially after the separation, South Sudan was doing better. They got into some stupid, intertribal warfare that's sort of hindering progress, but that warfare is still much less serious than what's going on right now, right? So before, it looks like the Black African Christian Sudanese were being used as a scapegoat previously before, but now because it's only it's majority the Muslims being left in the north, they have no one else to turn to apart from turning to themselves. That's the situation over there. And in Nigeria, just recently, right, children have been kidnapped again, right? And the Nigerian government is not doing anything. Maybe the brother has a point. Perhaps Nigeria government, especially in Kano State, right, and all these northern states where they have access to Boko Haram that can go into the other borders, maybe they allowed it, right? Is Nigeria done for? That's the question.
This sick feeling in my stomach, what's happening in Nigeria, like I've been through it before. And that's why I pray for you guys. So hopefully you guys deal it well soon. Hopefully it doesn't have to come to a civil war because that's really nasty and vicious stuff. But the Christians in the South are going to get sick of it. My warning is, if they get a permanent Islamic majority government, there's nothing you can do about it. Honestly, that's the saddest part. When you get to the stage, you can't vote these guys out. You're doomed. I'm sorry to say. That happened to me and my people. And
so let me give context, right? Kenya obviously is a majority Christian nation, about 80% Christians, 20% Muslim. Ethiopia is 70% Christian, 30% Muslim. Tanzania is a little bit higher Muslim population. I think it's 35 or maybe 40% Muslim population, right? But of course, these Muslims are Bantuized, right? So the cultures that they have, even the women, they twerk, right? So you can clearly see, let me show you, right? Twerking, Tanzanian Muslims. What I'm trying to show here is that the kinds of Islam that they practice is not the kind of Islam that is being Arabized, right? These are Africans who still believe in their culture. So you could ask the question: why is some countries in Africa still, um, you know, still not ending up in wars and all that kind of stuff? I believe it's partly to do with whether you've been Arabized or not, right? I believe nations that have been Arabized tend to have more conflicts, right? But nations that have more of, let's say Africanization, the conflicts tend to be less, right? Africans love to shake their ass, they love to shake their booty, have a good time, and that definitely reduces the kinds of crazy madness that they have. That's a reality, right? That's my hypothesis. I'm just trying to find out some Muslims twerking, as you can see, that this Islam operates differently depending on the region. So I'm going to share my screen just so that we can have this for educational purposes. Let's get it. Yeah, so as you can see, these are Somali Bantus, right? As you can see, they still maintain their culture. They're still twerking, they're enjoying themselves. They've not really been fully Arabized, right? This is African culture, right? Despite being Muslims, they're still able to practice a semblance of themselves, right? As you can see, these are Somali Bantus over there, right? It's a dance, right? As you can see, this is what we want from Africa. If you're going to be Muslims, there's nothing wrong with it, but still maintain your old African culture, right? You don't want to be fully Arabized. Um, Zulia says, I'm at work, but blacks worldwide sicken me. Caesar says, but like you said, Kaiser, yep. The Hausa, a Fulani in the northern Nigeria, want to Islamize the whole country by force. We seriously need to partition the country to avoid. This is not our culture. WTF. Now, let me give you an example, right? Because if you look at Nigeria, the most educated people in Nigeria are the Igbos, right? But Igbos are not cultured, right? They're a little bit unruly, they're a little bit badly behaved, but they are the most educated people. The Northerners are the least educated people, right? These are the people with the low IQ. So I'm going to share my screen right now so that we can see exactly what I'm talking about, right? Education rate in Northern Nigeria, literacy. I'll show you that these guys are literally having the lowest literacy rates around in Africa. And these are the people who are going to be having power. These are the people that the Europeans left in power. If you guys don't change this, unfortunately, Nigeria is going to collapse, right? Because you can't have you can't have uh, cattle herders as your main point of education. Look at this, right? Most northern states, with the exception of Taraba, Plateau, and the Nasrara, have lower than 50% literacy rate, right? That is crazy. And in the South, no state has a lower than 70% literacy rate. So that means, right, the northern states. Now, if you look at the for women versus boys, it's even more staggering. What needs to happen? Nigeria must actually separate because you cannot having people from the north, right, who are barely educated, be ruling the country, right? Look at the female education rate. Let me find it. The numbers are even worse than the numbers I showed, right? The women are even less educated, 30% education rate. Let me see if I can find it. Right, look at that, right? Data shows, right? I'm gonna make it a bit bigger. Data shows literacy rates for Northeast Nigeria at 50%. For boys, oh shoot, that's for boys, not for overall. And 31% for girls. That's crazy. In Bono, 75%. Whoa, look at this is crazy, right? That's what the northern states shows. Yeah, these are the people controlling Nigeria. Nigeria is definitely going to collapse. These ninjas sure love shaking their butts. Yeah, those are Somalis. Yorubas are the most educated. Igbos are business people. Mike doesn't want to talk about this. Right. Now that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, you guys will definitely collapse if you don't change your ways.
Because we couldn't vote them out, we were too small. They had the military, they had the economy, everything. So I'm thinking about you guys. Hopefully they're sorted soon. But I generally believe the Nigerian government is the one.
I mean, not Mizi. Just look at how low IQ this is, right? Even the so-called Islamic extremist group Boko Haram, literally, their name means education is bad, right? Or Western education is bad. Basically, being educated for them is a bad thing, right? These are the kinds of people out there in Nigeria
doing this. And they're doing it. They've given these militias the green light to do this, and that's why none of them is being held accountable because they simply don't want to. And I think that's a sad truth. Thank you.
Sheikh, I have a question for you.
Should I continue with the questions?
When you guys, prior to your...
Should I continue with the questions?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Or civil war, were they dividing, like finding ways to divide the South? You know, those of you in the South. Like
Yeah, yeah,
like tribes and
yeah, they divided us between Nuer and the Dinka. So the Dinka are the majority, which are my people. The Nuer are like, so us Dinka were about 30%, the Nuer are about 15%. And then we have another 62 tribes. And they divided us into Dor, Nuer, Dinka, and we were fighting each other before we ever fought them. We only became united in 1983. So from 1956 till 1983, us black tribes in the southern part of Sudan, we were fighting each other. And because of the divisions that came from the federal government, so they divided us up in certain areas. So the west is the Barkazal area, the east is the Nuer area, and the north is the Nuer area, and the south is the more like Islamic area in Juba. So if you go to our capital, Juba, a lot of people speak Juba Arabic. And the reason is because the government up north wanted to make Arabic as an official language of the southern Christians. Because if they make Arabic as an official language, we become Arabized. So then we start pretty much, it takes away our traditional language and our culture. They essentially try to Arabize all of the people in the southern of Sudan, like they have in the north. Like when you go to North Sudan, they're like Algerians and Moroccans and stuff. They're Muslim, they
Kaiser,
speak
who
Arabic.
calls it? He has a great point. There are many countries who he has this point. I understand. Like there are countries who got Arabized, and that's true. You see, Monetaria, Western African country, it got Arabized. They basically see themselves as Arab. That's a good point, but like about the Nigerian thing, I don't think he's right. It's like this guy haven't studied Nigeria, like he can have a strong opinion on Nigeria like that because this guy doesn't know the the new things, the stuff that is going on in Nigeria. This guy is babbling because he doesn't. He's not an official, he doesn't study Nigeria. He can have an opinion about Nigeria. Maybe he can have an opinion about where he's from. I get that, but like I think we shouldn't believe about his takes about Nigeria. I don't think it is right. I don't think you can generalize Nigeria in one sentence where you see the divisions among Muslims and Christians, and you see a threat happening. That's really wrong. This guy has no points about Nigeria. This guy need to study more Nigeria because this guy knows about his home country. Good for him, but like we shouldn't believe what he says. People like Two Niger knows about Nigeria. We should listen to those people who are from Nigeria, who know the culture, who know the nuances. The nuances are really important. You have many people who are proud of being Nigerian nowadays, being a part of being their tribe, Igbo. Instead of that, they call themselves Nigerian. They're part of that identity. They're people who create identity around the Nigerian identity. It is you see that in the West as well. No one see themselves as an Igbo. They see themselves as a Nigerian in the West. 200, you can go ahead, bro.
Thank you, thank you. I'm not feeling 100%, yet, so forgive my voice and my nose. I
But
will be speaking from.
your literacy rate is 31% today.
Pardon?
You said you're not 100%, so your literacy rate is 31%, like the girls from Northern.
Uh, don't start now. You could say that, I guess. Yeah, the numbers are correct and quite abysmal in not in terms of Western education. Um, One, I think they tend to value their religion more than they value Western education generally. Some of all these people, when you ask them to quote the Quran, they will be experts, but not on things that is Western that actually gives them access to technology and all those things. So they don't tend to do a lot of that. This is part of why the kind of Islam we practice in Africa is quite damaging. We practice a type that seems to limit our ability to innovate. But that said, it doesn't mean that they don't have a lot of highly educated people, capable people in the north. They do have them, and it's just that the spread is a lot less. But it's true for most nations. Let's face it. The question is whether those parts of the country are the ones that govern the country. That is a totally different question. Like in the context of Nigeria, I think the people that govern the country at a certain period of time is a reflection of that period of time. In the context of Nigeria, the northern Nigerians didn't want to join Nigeria because they felt the southern Nigerians had too much advantage over them, and so it took a lot of convincing for the British to uh, get them to join Nigeria.
Wait, Tunaja, wait, one sec, one sec. Big up Juju for the $5 big. That's gonna feed Kaizo, you know. That's gonna get him a great Kenyan coffee. Thank you, Juju.
Yeah, nice one. So they had to convince them to join Nigeria, and when they did, uh, even then they still were disadvantaged. The Southerners had a lot of, some of the best institutions and stuff like that going on, and then the coup resulted, especially in the military. When the coup resulted, the civil war happened. Then the southeast was a kind of displaced from their military positions. So, but that said, in the context of Nigeria today, it's being governed quite. How do I put it? Every part has their role to play. The idea that one side is dominating Nigeria is false. The only major power the North has over the South is to maintain the fact that Nigeria should exist. So they tend to be the custodians from that point of view. That if you want to break the country up, you will have to fight them. And they do have numbers on their side. And the Southern people tend to be more divided, educated and divided at the same time. So, and their number is growing in the North. You can say whatever you like, and they are uneducated at all, but their number is growing, and this is a democracy. So you can see the dynamics that is played out in the country is not as straightforward as it appears. It's funny enough, when one southern politician died recently, that Wigwe guy, the founder of Access Bank in America, Dangote from the north, deep north, was weeping in his funeral. And in a way, that shows to Nigerians that the people that you like to think are so divided, at the top, they are very united. They have links, close links. So it's not as straightforward as people think in Nigeria. That said, though, and most Nigerians is mostly governed by minorities too. That's another weird dynamics in Nigeria. The leaders in Nigeria tend to come from minority groups. Tinubu is one of, when you say minority group, they are all minorities, but in terms of the larger groups, Tinubu is one of those that came from one of the larger groups, like Obasanjo. Which other person came from a larger group? Let me see, since the founding of Nigeria. Uh,
Jonathan, all of them.
Only Tinubu came from a larger group.
What about
Tinubu
Good Luck?
and Tinubu and Obasanjo, but the others don't come from a large group.
So Good Luck is not from. Is not an Igbo.
Good
Or
Luck
he's
is
not
from
Igbo.
the south now. He's your man now.
Okay. Oh yeah. True.
Good Luck is your, and Buhari is Fulani. Fulani, Nupe, Kanuri, Abacha, Babangida is Nupe, Gowon is from Plateau. So many of our leaders are not even from in the big groups. Hausa man, the only Hausa man that ran Nigeria was for 1 year, which was after the death of Abiola. Abu Salam Abubakar, Major General Abu Salam Abubakar. He ran Nigeria for just 1 year. The only Hausa man, and Hausa is the largest single group in Nigeria. So it tells you Nigeria's dynamics is just modeled. Many Nigerians don't even reflect Nigeria this way. So,
Okay.
but the case of Sudan is a bit different. So I would like to hear more about that.
Okay. Shout out to you. And let me just respond quickly before we continue on the video and to learn more about Sudan. The juxtaposition here is Sudan broke in two because of their racism against the Arab North, or Arab claiming North, and the South. There was even a genocide attempt by the Janjaweed, which is currently fighting the government now, but was empowered by the government then and allowed them to commit a genocide against the black, Darfurians, right, in the west of Sudan. And unfortunately, those people never got their independence, right? Only the South, because the South was a much bigger clan. You had the Dinkas, you had the Noors, you had the Shilluk. These are much,
Wait, guys, I got a question. Who the Janjaweed are they Arab? Because I don't know who's the Arab.
We are Arabs, yes, yeah. Most of them are descendants of Arabs. Yes, they do look like other Africans, especially like perhaps they look like Afaris, people from Afar, but they are
Mhm.
Arabs. Paternally
Yeah,
speaking, a lot of them, half of them have the Arab haplogroup. So they are genetically Arab from the paternal side, right? These are Arab men who came and married Nilot women, had children with them, and of course, in African culture, you are what your father is. So they are Arabs by any definition.
But
Of
are you saying that they are a kind of three quarters African, one quarter
Yeah,
Arab, and that makes them
70
Arab?
they're 70% African DNA wise, right? But
Yeah.
they are, of course, Arabs by whatever definition Africans have. You are what your father is. Am I lying about that, Tanaja?
That's it. That's in terms of titles, but genetically that shouldn't be the case. But it's
mhm.
okay. You are right there, that some people do that in terms of the way they practice, and I think it's wrong. Because if you are 70% black and you call yourself Arab, you are going to find out from the Arab side whether you are one of them sooner or later.
But
Um,
Tunisia, they're accepted as an Arab, and they have a culture that is not African. They follow very traditional Arab culture, and the Arabs accept them. They just
where did you get that the Arabs accept them? Have you seen how they are treated in the Middle East?
uh, no, no, no. Sudanese are the only blacks. I mean, certain Sudanese are the only blacks who are accepted as Arabs.
No,
No,
Sudanese are
actually, they treat them
Sudanese
like trash. Even the Yemenis are treated like trash because they are darker.
But Tunisia,
sure.
these people
This
are
is a
proud
Janjaweed.
Arabs.
This is an
They
Arab.
call themselves the Arab tribe of Sudan, and Sudan is an Arab nation. That's what they say, Tunisia.
Of course, they
They're
will say that now, just like Egypt, you say they are Arabic nation, but they are not. They can say it. It doesn't make them. If I say I'm a dog today, does that make me a
Mhm.
dog?
No, no, no.
There's an objective truth out there.
Okay, Tunaja, this is a Janjaweed there. As you can see, he's wearing his traditional Arab clothes. You can see his traditional Arab face with the Arab skin color and the Arab.
Tunisia, I mean,
See,
look,
do you see his eyebrows joining?
No, it's what it is.
wait,
Okay,
Tunisia,
I'm
this looks
sorry
like
then.
more Berber. Does it? Am I right? It looks more Berber.
That guy could pass for Fulani, Hausa, any. He can pass for almost any other sub-Saharan African.
Yeah,
But because they just have a tiny Arab in them, they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we're Arabs."
Yeah, I'll make them Arab.
they look Ethiopian.
Did you say that? Do you want them to have a big do you want
You
them
know
to have a
how
big Arab
Arabs
side?
look now.
Name
If you go to
or
Saudi
or
Arabia,
do you
you know
want?
how Arab looks.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Tunisia,
these
we
are
know
black people that get called
they.
in Arabia.
Yeah, they
Right?
are
But
considered.
they,
Yeah,
they are Arab.
yeah, they are Arabs, no
They
doubt.
is he Arab
Call them black
culturally or
Arab.
genetically?
Genetically and culturally,
Neither one.
both,
Oh,
both.
How can you consider these people are clearly not? You don't even see their eyebrow joining. They are not light skinned. They don't have the typical features of Arab Saudi Arabian looking people. They don't have
Uh,
them.
Tunisia, these people have straight hair. They are admixed.
Yeah, there are a lot of Africans that are admixed too. You know, even
Yeah.
in Africa itself, there are a lot of
Mhm.
people that are admixed. So if you go to some Fulani cultures, some Fulanis in West Africa, you can see some of them that have somewhat straight hair. It doesn't mean they are Arabs. You know,
Yeah.
I don't understand it. You know, just like white people have coily hair, as well they have straight hair. You don't suddenly switch them from being white to becoming black because they have coily hair.
Tunisia, complain. They claiming their ancestors were descended of Arabia.
See, like Igbo people, some Igbo people will say, not all of them, some of them will say we are descendants of Jews. But in reality, even if that was there was some truth to it, like in the ancient past, there were some ancient ancestors of Jews that arrived in the Nigerian subcontinent, and then they started living there. But what has happened then is that they mixed with the locals for generation after generation after generation. You are gone. The old thing is gone, and your look, your phenotype, your genetic lineage, the link is not there. Like these ones now, you can argue that okay, yes, a quarter of their lineage is still, that's their genetic lineage is still tied to this is the Arabic gene, but 70% of them is not. So by that standard, they are more African than Arab. I don't know. Maybe people can
Nah,
decide what they want.
Tuna, you gotta give it to them. They want to claim their ancestors, and good for them because the Arabs accept them. Tuna, you gotta don't claim something that doesn't claim.
See, can you imagine African American come in and say, "Oh, I'm 25% African, so I'm African," but the rest is European.
Right.
How absurd! Do you think Africans will look at that person and think, "Okay, you are proper African"? No. And it's absurd. Some of the game they are playing, they don't know they are playing a deadly game here. They are considering a soft power, worshiping a group and believing that they are in a group that they are not part of. Really, they are using them as cannon fodder, and they are going to use them to kill their fellow Africans, and which is what they are doing. If you are Muslim, but they could still kill you because you are not Arabic, because they have this Arabization thing that they believe that everybody has to be Arab. So in other words, they are being used as cannon fodder against their own people without knowing it. But that's just my opinion anyway.
That's
I,
right.
I
That's
like
right.
to. I
Wait,
like to
let
speak.
me answer. Let me answer this question. Who he said, Andre, who you consider Jarir? You know, the question answer it for yourself. You know, there are people who call themselves as that's a tribe name in Somalia. Or there are people who descended of Tanzania, for example, the Swahili people. Uh, it's not something you consider people. It's a tribe name. But let's go back to the Sudan thing. To Niger, everybody doesn't want to be an African, you know. Like you gotta accept that. Some people want to be Arab. It's okay. It's
Yeah,
the same.
I don't know. I on that argument is clear. I think I agree with you on that. Quite a lot of people, not just some people, quite a lot of people don't want to be African actually, and they want to distance themselves from being African as much as possible because Africa is quite rubbish right now, their image and all. But just for that reason, just claiming you're Arab doesn't make you Arab, and it's a dangerous game to play
Hey,
because
hey,
Tonight,
let
we all
me
see
let
what
me.
is going on.
I like the comment.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that first for one, like most Sudanese people, if they went outside of Sudan, they would not be considered Arab at all. So it's laughable to even consider them Arab. Even if you light skin, you still wouldn't pass as an Arab. You would still be qualified as an African. So there you go with that. And as far as some people claiming Africa, Africa is just all over the place right now. It's at a bad time, and it's not really looking good as of right now. But as far as Islam go, Islam is an Arab centric religion, and I think it could cause the Nigeria to split. Um, just due to what it is, and like the stats I was looking at, like one area, like 70% of the kids don't go to school. That's terrible. And to me, man, Islam is a real issue. It kills your culture, um, kills your identity. It takes away from so many things, and it's the Arabization really bothers me. And you have to understand that the Sudanese were enslaved by and large due because of the religion. The Northernese, they bombed their villages and enslaved them in some cases when they went through their war, and they used Islam as a tool. So I'm confused as to why anyone would want to follow that religion. So I'll just say that.
And there's some truth to what you said about the Arabization and why people join the religion. I think in the part the reason why they do it is because of the religion itself in terms of the Quran, not what follows it. I don't think the Quran said anything about Arabization.
No,
Go, go,
it's an Arab. No, I'm just saying it's an Arab centric. I'm saying it's simply an Arab centric religion. Like you gotta pray in Arabic. You may change your name. You gotta pray facing Mecca, the holy city Mecca.
yeah,
Everything about them. I'm just saying in general.
yeah. I think part of it is because most people don't see what they don't understand what they are conceding. Like if you look at like some of the countries in North Africa now that have by and large been Arabized culturally, they tend to lean towards Saudi Arabia, and they don't always have a lot of squabbles with it. But if you look at Turkey, that has its strong identity It wasn't Arabized. Or this thing Iran. That's why they don't like Iran. Iran wasn't Arabized. And
Tunisia, can I tell you something about
yeah.
Turkey? Turkey want to Turkanize East Africa. It is another power. We got to watch. They want to watch Black Africa. They want to make them. Have you seen the people in East Africa who learn Turkish as a first language because they think that it makes them smarter? Because Tunisia, like these powers are dangerous. They remove the African. You got to have a system of Africanization of many places.
There's a new trend that I noticed, and I think I started noticing it from what was her name again? Only Me or Punta Princess. She seems to have this, glowing, this thing, a kind of opinion of the Turkish people. For some reason, I'm not so clear why that is the case, but and if you look at what is going on now with Ethiopia and Somalia, um the Somalis are like all in with the Turkish and the Egyptians. From what I got, they even refer to themselves as Arabic. So some of the things they are doing is so, for want of a better word, I will use the Nigerian word mumu. Mumu. That's pure stupidity. That they don't. You see, our people in Africa, and we still think we live in the 300-400 years ago. They don't seem to understand that the world has changed so severely that, given how weak Africa is, you need its best people to get out there and do stuff. And at least the least you can do is stand aside. If you don't, if you don't, you may not like it, but stand aside. When Ethiopia is trying to get access to the sea, okay, fine. You don't like the fact that they went to Somaliland, fine. Find another way. You try with the African Union because you don't like what you are hearing. You go to Turkey, you go to Egypt. Some of the things we do, we don't know. We invite trouble into the continent, and by doing those things, the gain you are trying to get just preventing Ethiopia from getting to the sea. So you don't want Ethiopia to get to the sea, but you're okay with Turkey to come there with their warship to help you do what? Be servant to them. The whole thinking is wrong. And I saw that Somali woman in America, and I saw her speech, and I listened to her speech. Man, it was horrible. She was so tribalistic. It's crazy how she was. And this is an American that should in
Tunisia,
America she sees herself as
Tunisia,
black,
Tunisia, I
but
can
when it
answer
comes to
that.
Africa,
Tunisia,
first class
Tunisia.
behavior.
You know that woman, her voters want her. It's like liberals vote for something. They want to hear liberal things, and that woman has like a lot of Somali voters, and they want to hear that. But even conservative Americans supported her. She was the conservatives, liberals were against what she was saying about like there were a mistranslation though. The media made it look really horrible. It was a mistranslation. It was like uh, she was saying basically America has a one take. The take America has is one 1907 borders Somalia and then 1960 borders Somalia. That's what the American government want, and she was agreeing with that. And the media made it look bad. The media mistranslated basically.
You see, whenever I come to an opinion or say things like this, I do try to allow for things like that. Part of the
Mhm.
reason why I read it the way I read it is also because of the opinions of Punta Princess, and I've heard her say similar stuff. I've heard her sound very, very tribalistic, and with she's what they call it, uncompromising, ruthless about it. She doesn't care who she has to lie in bed with. She will literally, she's willing to lie in bed with the people that beheaded our own ancestors, but as long as that person will help her deprive either Kenya or Ethiopia of something. It,
No,
it's,
but
it's
like
it's some
teenager,
crazy
teenager.
stuff.
No, no, no. It's not. You're not getting it, teenager. It's like someone with really powerful, a Nigerian that is powerful, and someone a different government says Nigeria should split and it should be cut in half. They basically said that's not a good thing. That's what she was saying basically. She wasn't talking about the deal. It was like the country splitting, and she thinks that is a bad thing. That's okay. Everybody has his opinion, you know.
See, the thing is, what she said there, what I find that I find problematic is not that she doesn't want her country to be divided. Of course, I
Hmm.
support that. I don't want our country to be divided too.
Yeah.
I think the issue I have with it is the way she wants to deal with the problem. She will and the one she's more adamant about. Not she doesn't want to do it any other way. She doesn't want to give Ethiopia access to the sea. And strategically looking at it, to do that peacefully will be considered a great achievement. Because sooner or later, Ethiopia, if Africa is going to emerge as a great place, Ethiopia has to emerge. And sooner or later, that there will be consequences if you lock such a population inland like that. And okay, many people have done business with Somaliland before now. They didn't go and get military from somewhere else to come and intervene. And those people that did business with Somaliland, they are not Africans. They didn't get military from or even from UN to help them. But when it comes to an African, you go and bring foreign forces to come and start patrolling the seas. And that same sea now, is that not where Houthi rebels are fighting and messing up the whole neighborhood? And Djibouti has so many foreign military bases there. But God forbid, an African nation that is the most populated in that region tries to get access to the sea for them. So the way she is trying to deal with the problem is what I find problematic. So that's my opinion anyway. Sorry.
No, for me, Tunaja, I'm against Turkey being in that region because Turkey is going to be the white man. It's going to basically colonize that area and spread their culture. It's kind of unfair, you know. You 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 want the African culture, the native culture, to thrive, but you have foreign people who have interests.
I don't think the Turkish culture will pose much of a threat. Um, Turkey is a power, but it's not the tide that is coming from Africa right now. Turkey can stem it. I think the people that we should be more worried about is the Americans and the Chinese. And those are the true powers that are there. Obviously, America comes with NATO that is actually expanded. So they are the ones we really need to be worried about. And when I hear that lady sounding the way she sounds, in a way, okay, let me try to flip the switch because I've been talking from the point of view that okay, you have a neighbor, deal with the neighbor, try to work with your neighbor and solve a problem. But you could go the other way too. The reason why I say this is because if you look at Asia, most neighbors are not friends. Actually, many of the neighbors are actually antagonistic towards each other. So, but how did they make it work for them? That's the key question. Why is Japan doing so well, but yet not friendly with North Korea? Why is South Korea doing so well, not friendly with North Korea? Why is Taiwan doing so well, not friendly with China? You know, the dynamics that goes on in Asia seems to favor them somehow. So, so from the point of view of Pan Africanism, it's not necessarily a one-track way to solve our problem. You could have two nations competing for power, and it results in Africa developing. The reason why I'm saying this because there's this. I just saw further evidence to what I'm saying now, apart from just watching Asia anyway. Um, Further evidence to what I'm saying now. In the arms trade, this thing, the way America looks at its arms trade, when they sell ammunition to people, they always watch out for the balance of power. Because if there is an imbalance in power between neighbors, you are more likely to get a conflict. So, in a way,
Mhm.
that is what America is doing in Asia. Because when they see China emerge, they try to use Japan, Taiwan, and the other countries to counter China, just like America used China to counter the Soviet Union. And it's very funny because, but Africa never gave America that opportunity, never gave the world that opportunity. because not one nation decide to strike out.
Tunaj, I got one thing to say about that. Colonial borders left many problems in Africa. I think the best way is to talk. It's not to just to fight. I think wars it doesn't achieve anything. It just brings us.
Yeah, you have to fight for what you believe in. Come on, man.
Yeah, but colonial borders, we only fight when it comes to like terrorism in like northern Nigeria, where you can't negotiate with terrorists. You fight only there. But like when it comes to like different sides of things, yeah, you gotta talk. So thank you for the $10 donation.
If there's an
Zola.
injustice, there's an injustice, isn't it?
I think the idea of injustice is an illusion in terms of.
No, it's not.
Let me explain what I mean. I think you
If you
might
feel
have.
no, if you feel wronged, if you are wronged, if someone robs you, that's an injustice.
Yes,
Very,
in certain
very, very,
contexts, but in terms of national, national security or in terms of a national interest, injustice is not something you worry too much about. I think if you want to kind of relate to what I'm trying to explain here, it's like the injustice that occurs when a lion feeds on an antelope. You see what I mean? So you understand that there are certain situations that you don't. It's not unjust. It's unfair, but it's not unjust. I don't even know what is even unfair anymore. The point is that there are certain states in life, the balance, you can pass your judgment anyhow you want. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. And what that tells you is that what truly matters when you are looking at the national interest is about power. You have to be the one doing the eating. And if somebody eats you, don't sit there
okay.
feeling sorry for
So why?
yourself.
Okay,
Fix
okay,
your problems.
okay. So why are you always complaining? If
No, I'm not.
if
That's
you
funny.
believe in that way,
Okay,
then you
tell
should
me what
never
I'm
have
complaining about.
complaints. If someone
You
robs you, if someone takes you, that means you're just weak. You're not
oh my
strong
God,
enough,
that's
right?
crazy. Say, why are you always complaining? Tell me
That's
what
your
I complain
mindset.
about now.
That's
Tell
what
me
I'm,
what I complain about.
if that's what your mindset is, then you should not be complaining about how
What
the
did I
black
complain
people.
about? Now you
No,
say
I'm
we are
saying you're
mostly
always crying
complaining.
about black people, right? You
I'm
shouldn't
not.
be crying about it. You guys are
Give
weak
me one
because
now,
you're not
so you
strong, right?
understand. Okay, did I? Okay, tell me
So
my
get strong.
complaint.
You only 200 complaints about decision the government take that destroys, the interest of
He
Africa.
shouldn't. Yeah, he shouldn't care. He shouldn't care. He should
No, 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 no. See,
just get
hold
stronger.
on.
Get, you know what I'm saying? Get
I mean,
your.
he
I'm,
should
uh,
care if it's his country.
I'm highlighting the
Not with
thing
his
that they are
mindset.
doing that is
His mindset.
weakening
He
us.
just
I'm
said.
trying. See,
You know what I'm
see.
saying?
What I'm saying is that okay, you can
You
say
don't add it up.
individually. Hold on now. I'm not Thanos. You can say
Yeah.
individually.
Yeah.
I should do something about it. Fine, fair point. But
Yeah.
maybe
1 second, Tinaja. Let's let James come in just before that.
all
Shout
right.
out to I was gonna say Asante to John Zola for $10 super
Jan
chat.
Zola with the Big 10.
Yeah.
Shout out
Shout
to
out
you.
exactly. Shout out to Juju as well for the $5 Black Americans holding us down. So the topic today is Sudan versus South Sudan, right? And North Nigeria versus South Nigeria. Um, James Corvus, what do you think? Do you think that first of all, comment on anything you wanted from Sudan, although it's Nigeria? Go ahead.
All right, so my thing with the Sudan, I thought that situation was already. I'm not saying that that North Sudan isn't still doing stuff, but I thought South Sudan exists because of the things that the what was called the Jaweed or whatever were doing, and what the
Mm-hmm.
government were doing to the
Yeah.
Nile. So I thought
Right.
that's why South Sudan
Oh no,
exists.
it's true. That is correct. However, there's an area in North Sudan called Darfur,
Right.
and the Janjaweed have actually, been committing genocide there. They're still attacking them. They've chased them out of their area. A lot of these guys have now fled into South Sudan for peace and survival. So Darfur, they want to be separate from South Sudan, right? Because technically they're different people. They're more like Chadic people, right?
Right.
So they're closer to Chad. So they're not
Oh, fair
exactly
enough.
Nilots, but they're also not exactly the Janjaweed. They're not Arabs either. So they didn't get their country, yet they're still being killed, oppressed, and all that kind of stuff. So that's actually part of the issue. Janjaweed is taken over Darfur, and they're using as a base to fight the government right now. So that's what's going on there right now. And Nigeria, of course, you got Boko Haram. These
Right.
guys don't literally. They're imagine a terrorist group that says education is bad. That's insane.
I thought they would. I thought they were done. I thought their leaders were already like taken care of and everything like that. But I guess it's an ideology. So when it comes to that, I mean, like, who the people who are mostly in what's it called in Boko Haram, they're Hausa, right? Or they Karuni.
They are from northern
Houses,
Nigeria. They could be Hausa, Kanuri. They could be mixed. So one can't tell really.
If they want to split and just create their own country, I think they should do so. Because that's no benefit to Nigeria. I'll just say it. Like, because most of the Karuni even come from like Niger and like Chad anyway. So if they want to go that way, all right, fine. But like, they should just go their own way and just leave everybody else out of it. It seems like it's funny how like Islam does this when it comes to Africa, because like it is Arab.
Who funds them?
What do you mean who funds it? Well, yeah, the Arab countries fund them, but I don't understand why they just don't take them to Arab countries. If they want to do this shit, why don't they just go to Arab countries? They'll be closer to Mecca. I just don't understand why they're trying to do this in Africa. And also the Africans, I guess we don't got Africans themselves don't have the resources in order to fight off these people. But these people are severely anti-African. And if you're so anti-African, you want to be an Arab, just go to an Arab country. Just get off of the continent of Africa. Because Africa is not for Arabs. Arabs come from a specific place. They can go off into the desert and do whatever. They don't need to be in Africa. And I wish Africans would understand that. Because that's a toxic religion. Christianity as well, but I don't see African Christians going out and trying to, violently, I could be wrong, violently trying to, spread their ideology onto other people.
I think you're dividing us among religions, and Africans have a lot of religions, and that's going to be dangerous.
Yeah, they do have a lot of religions. I prefer the indigenous religions, but those religions, the Abrahamic faith, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, they have always just been destructive when they came to Africa. So
they played a big role in Africa, though. I don't know.
They do play the big role because they've been there for centuries. I understand that, but like, I don't know. There's got to be something. This literally got to be something, because like it's just too much violence and it's just too much, and these religions are foreign. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think you have a point. I think there was a question I asked the other day, that why is it that the most of the terrorist organizations and all these militants you see going around in the world, all ranging from India to Malawi and Mozambique in Africa, tend to come from one specific religion. And when I asked that question, it was very difficult for a lot of people to answer. Because some people, though you say that I've just been anti-Muslim, and there is something to it. Because we also found that some people are being funded to destabilize regions in the Sahel areas. I think it was Qatar or UAE that was funding some of the militants that are causing all those problems there, and the violence that they are using, and the taxes that they use, it actually leads to actual gains, because intimidation works, violence works, because it intimidates people and it makes people go back, retreat. You've seen that in history, when Afghanistan that used to be Buddhist, and I think some part of Pakistan that used to be Buddhist, they welcome the Muslims in. And guess what? Even in the recently when Taliban was in office, they are still trying to destroy as many Buddhist temple these statues as they can find. Because when they first came in, they didn't be like they are, when they were not like that, they were more accommodating. But in time, they just keep eating away at the Buddhism, eating away, and they just destroy the entire thing. To today, they've never recovered. But during that time, there was a policy then. The Hindus were different. The Hindus refused. They were not buying into the idea of Islam.
Right.
They resisted, and hence you see them still around.
One second. There's no terrorists in Congo. What's going on in Congo?
It's not everywhere they are. Jesus Christ, you can't be everywhere. Jeez, we barely have Muslims in Congo anyway. So, but there are countries where you have very very little Muslims, and you still have Islamic people that claim to be Islamic anyway. Let's put it that way. But the question still remains: why are they the most susceptible to that? I have my own suggestion, but I don't know whether you guys have any. You can take you can try to explain it to me because I'm not sure my own ideas are actually correct.
I mean,
Maybe you
like
have some insights.
like y'all was saying before, like some of these people just claim to be Arabs. I don't know why they just don't go to Arabia. An Arab is not an African. I don't know why there are Arabs in Africa.
Yep,
They're not from there.
that's a
Where
very
you go?
interesting point to raise. That's a very interesting one.
Like
Yeah,
they
you're
really
Arab. Why
don't
don't you
believe.
just go to the Arab Peninsula then? Why don't you go there? You're trying to spread your power. And people don't understand the soft power associated with some of all these things that they concede to. But, we will learn sooner or later. Sooner
Right.
or later, we will learn.
Like the whole world don't got to be a Muslim. The whole world don't got to be Muslim. Just go to Arab. Just go to Arabia. I got more than enough
Hey
people.
man, bring something better, and people will become whatever you want them to become, right?
Islam
That
is
is
good.
true.
So
That is true.
until that happens, you can't complain, man. It doesn't make sense.
You say Islam is better.
Yeah,
Guys,
find something better. It's
and
just facts.
for example, like if someone
You
is
gotta pray
99%,
offended,
5 times a day,
bro.
bro.
It's just facts. Look, there's way more West African Muslims than
wait,
You can't pray once. You gotta pray
Tunaja, let
5
me ask
times.
you,
whatever you believe in. So
Gabriel,
I
unless you
don't
got
think
something
Islam. I
better,
don't.
then
I don't think it's better.
keep your mouth shut.
If you ask me, I would say it's because the Western religions, which is that's the Christian religion,
Either way,
maybe
there's no
maybe.
look. There's look, let's be real. There's no terrorist in Congo, but the biggest exports of diamonds is what Israel. Where they getting all the, you know what I'm saying.
What are that going to do with the topic again?
I'm just saying you are the ones you don't know what's
wait,
going on in the world. Clearly, you
Tunaja, let me
keep
tell you
Okay,
No,
so
I
believing.
you
don't.
something.
I
just
don't know.
deflected.
I don't. I'm
Instead of
asking.
talking
Are
about the
you're
problems
Muslim
in
now?
Arab countries
Oh,
and
I
the
see.
Arab
He's offended because he's
claim,
Muslim. You
No,
see.
guys,
No,
relax,
I'm just putting it
Winnie.
up there. Innit?
But you didn't answer my
I'm
question.
going against your idea,
No, but there are
and
no
you.
Muslim. I'm not saying it's in every country, but wherever they show up, why don't we have Christian
I don't understand
militants
what's
like
going on in the
that?
Congo. You tell me what's going on in the Congo.
No. Okay, you are right to an extent. If you say the M13, this thing are militants, but they are not religious based.
But they're
You see
still
what I
killing
mean?
people and
Yeah,
terrorizing
no.
people.
I agree. But you see, this is the thing
So you're
I'm
only
trying to
terrorist
get
if
you
you're
to
Muslim.
understand. This is the thing I'm trying to get you to understand. These groups tend to be, if they have any political grievances, they are tied to their religion. And my own explanation is that they've never really managed to
They're not
separate.
as tired as you think they are.
Let me try to explain it. But then when they are attacking people, maybe
Because
they should not be calling
the
on their
reason why I say
religion.
that, no, let's be real. These pockets of terrorists are in different regions of the world. They're not linked like you think they are. They're just
No, they don't have to be linked. But that's my
you know what
point.
I'm
They don't have
saying.
to
They're
be
just
linked. But
people
why?
that live there.
Why do they keep manifesting?
I don't know. You go there. You go
You are
to
one of them.
Nigeria.
If you are
You
one
go
of
to
them, you
northern
should be able to
Nigeria and you
explain it.
ask them.
You
I
are
don't
no.
know.
If you are Muslim, I take it. If you are Muslim, you know why, and you are
All
not
right.
telling us. You're not telling us the
You tell
truth.
me why the
You
Congo
see?
they got every
Okay.
militia everywhere.
Let me get one thing
It's the
straight.
same
Let,
answer
let
you
me
get.
Congo don't have a
I,
militia everywhere. They have militias
Ajuran,
in Congo.
Ajuran,
Why do
Ajuran.
Islam always have something?
It's the same
Islam always
answer,
has
man.
something
It's
in
a
all
waste
these
of
different
time.
countries that aren't linked, and they even fight each other.
Let,
Why
let
don't
me ask him
Muslims come
now.
and try to direct that? Why don't Muslims try to theologize that?
Mm,
Because y'all always have somebody coming up and killing people. Y'all always have some type of extremist, violent group. Why don't you Muslims talk amongst each other and why this keeps happening?
see, hold on. Let me just get somewhere with Ajuran now. Ajuran, let me just confirm. You are Muslim, eh? It's not a negative thing. You are Muslim. I just want to confirm so that I can ask you the next question.
Yeah,
Ajuran, are you
go
Muslim?
on. Yeah.
Good. So you try to explain to me why you think this is manifesting in so many areas like that. Because you have insight.
Oh, you're older than me. You know more than me. You tell me.
How am I supposed to know? I'm not even Muslim.
I'm not from Nigeria. You tell me.
So, but I'm not Muslim. It's not only in Nigeria. It's happening. It's
So
happening
what? So what?
everywhere.
So what if you're not Muslim? You can do your own research.
But you, why
You're
don't you guess? Why
you're
don't you guess?
experienced older man.
As
You've
a
been around the
Muslim,
block.
as a Muslim, you must
You
have had a few things in the mosque or
Guys,
in the,
guys,
from the
one sec,
imam
one
that
sec.
is leading to these things. You must have had something.
Wait, Tunaja, wait, one sec.
you've clearly heard it. I don't know what you. I don't know.
You see how he's smiling,
I
he's
don't know
laughing.
what you're talking
They,
about.
they know it's an inside
You must
joke.
have heard
You
something.
know why this is happening, but you're
What's
not
an
willing to
inside
share
joke?
it.
Am I in Nigeria, fam?
It's an inside joke now. You all know why this is happening, and you're acting as if you
Wait,
don't know.
no. Let's be real. Like, how am I supposed to know what's going on in Northern
See,
Nigeria?
if I was a
Just because
Christian,
I'm a Muslim.
hold on. If I was a
Like,
born again
what
Christian,
is this? Like,
hold on
so
now.
why do
If
you know what's going on in
Let me
Congo?
answer you why I think you should know. If
Like,
I
what
was
is
born
this?
again Christian and Christians are showing up like going after, let's say, Hindus or Buddhists all around the world,
Yeah,
because
but
I'm a Christian and within the community, I will understand why that is happening.
No.
that's not
And
the
you
same
should
thing.
understand.
That's
Yeah,
not
you
the
see,
same thing. You're
you
from the
you are
same
being, you
country.
guys are being cagey.
You're
You
from
know
the
why
same
this is happening.
country. How am I supposed to know what's going on?
You
Like,
don't want to
okay,
tell
there's
people the
Muslims in
truth. You know why it's
Indonesia.
happening.
Am I supposed to know what's going on in Indonesia just because we're from the same religion? Doesn't make no sense,
Yes.
brother.
No,
You are from
no,
Nigeria. You're supposed to know what's going on in Nigeria.
hold
Doesn't
on.
matter if you're Muslim or not.
See,
That's your
it's not.
country. That's your peoples. They're still
See,
related. They're more related to you than me. Are they
it's
not?
not. No. It's not about
They're
that.
more related to
It's
you
not
than me.
about what is happening in the location.
What is
It is
this?
why they manifest it with the religion. You tell me
Okay,
that you don't know why.
you
How
know
Wait,
can
more
you
than
not
me.
know
I'm
why? You
saying
should
you're
know
older.
why.
You're wiser than me.
I
You
can
know more
answer
than
him.
me.
Let me
What
answer
is
him.
this?
Let me answer Tunaja's question because he been asking it. Tunaja, the answer is there are extremists. Every religion has extremists, and you see that in every race has an extremist. Every religion has an extremist. Shouldn't be surprising, because there are people who are misunderstood. They misunderstood. They're really extremists. They will harm people because of the ideologue. I don't think you should kill people over ideologue because everybody doesn't agree with each other. You know what I mean, Tunaja? We're against it. We're against extremists, and
Yeah.
I think that's common
Tunaja,
sense. I think most people are against
yeah,
it.
yeah, because
If you
like
think that that's not the case,
Tunaja, my point is like even Muslim people suffer from this. Tunaja, we want to get rid of it. Tunaja,
No, I get where you're coming from,
it's a
but
disease.
there's an element of to an extent, some people within the community, yeah, the extreme ones, I understand that, but in Christianity, they manage to separate the religion from their political ideologies in various areas. They manage to separate their religions from their science and intellectual debates and so many other things. They've kept the religion only as a spiritual experience to an extent, where you relate to the Almighty and you know what
they go to
um
Israel
what, what
every year.
yeah, and worry about heaven. But in what I find in what I suspect, I wouldn't say I find, what I suspect, I'm not sure, in Islam is that they've not separated many of these things. So whenever any problem occurs that is political, is Islam they're going to run to. Whenever there is education that comes, oh no, like Boko Haram manifests, go away with Western education. We want the Islamic one. Everything is Islamic. Even the race, they even brought race into it and brought Arabic into it. So there is that part of it that needs to be disentangled in the community. That doesn't seem to be happening because they somewhere along the line, I think somewhere along that they feel that they are gaining from being like this because they are spreading. Of course, when you are spreading from being like this, you're not going to have any incentive to change direction, especially when you see in such a strategic location in the world at the same time with all the oil and the power you have because of the religion. So, personally, I
Listen,
see
man,
it as a
you're
big
giving
challenge for the world.
listen, the Muslims are weak, man. Look what's going on in Gaza, man. You're giving us too much credit, man.
Two nice. So part of the reason why that happens is because, especially depending on the strain of Islam you were introduced to and you grew up with growing up, there's this insider outsider mentality, right? So kafir, infidel, right? Depending on how you were introduced to Islam, there's this idea that if you're not a Muslim, well, you know, you're not one of us. I can lie to you. I can do all these different things to you because you're not one of us. You're different. So that's why a lot of the Muslim moderates, they end up siding with the extremists anyway, because they're like, oh, I have to side with my Muslim brother. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's it's a major thing. You're an infidel. You're a kafir. Oh, we don't have to listen to kafirs. We don't need to listen to infidels. So right off the bat, everything you're saying can be just written off as you're a kafir. Your opinion doesn't matter. You see what I'm saying? So that divisive, you know, I was talking to a guy, and you know, he thought I was Muslim, by the way, and he was like, "Oh, well, Islam is the truth. You know, how can you, if you're not a Muslim, you're a liar?" Like, that strain of thought was crazy to me. I've never heard that before. So if we're not the same religion, I'm a liar? Because Islam is the truth. So if you profess a religion that isn't Islam, you're a liar. Like, why are they teaching people these things? And can you have a country with people who believe that you're a liar if you're a different religion? So that has to be changed. You see what I'm saying? You know, you can still be a Muslim, but you can't have this belief that people who are different religions than you are liars. Because how
So
you
okay,
you know?
you're the same as that guy because you want to change his religion though.
No, but you think I'm a
you wanna
liar?
clash, you want to
different
clash
religions.
his
It's like,
religion as
that's
well.
not
You want
compatible
it to
for a
change.
nation state. You
So
know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you're basically saying you want Nigeria to not be Muslim.
No. That's not what I'm saying, dude. What? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that everyone, the fact that one person views me as a liar because I'm a different religion, that's not compatible for a nation state. We can all or the fact I can say Happy Ramadan to my Ramadan Mubarak to my friend, but they can't say Merry Christmas to me, right? They're not allowed to greet me for any of my holidays because that's haram, right? These ideas, they're not compatible for a nation state. You know what I mean?
I think that the way Islam emerged, given that Christianity and Judaism did exist in similar region, and they spread so quickly, I think it was designed to be highly, highly strategic. And they would not like those terms because they think they believe it's from God. Obviously, I'm not a Muslim, so don't hold me accountable. If I was a Muslim,
violence too.
So the way it was designed to be highly, highly strategic. Hence why the need to focus on Mecca I think 5 times a day, and the language of the Quran should never be changed. And then you also have these other layers of Arabization on top of it.
Let me ask you, to Niger, right? Do you believe in like a spiritual religion or something, or like what do you believe in? Like do you have a?
I believe in a creator, and I believe that he has his purpose for us, and most of the things that are going on in the world right now is his purpose. And the idea that some people think they understand God more. I think people have corrupted the language of God, and if you say you have the pure language of God, I beg to differ.
What's the religion we should follow?
The religion we should follow is the religion of listening to each other and listening to God, the world itself. Let me say this. No, hold on. It might sound.
Okay.
See, you are believing in somebody that went into a cave and came out and told you that he had voices. And you're here laughing at me. Good luck with that one.
That's not an answer. That's why I'm laughing.
No, because you are laughing at me because it's me. But somebody went into a cave and came out and told you all this, and you believe it. So what is the difference? Objectively, is there any real difference other than people following that person?
Difference, but
no,
you're basically professing for a live and let live kind of ideology, right?
I'm basically saying that in this world,
you're not advocating for anything.
Let me.
You're not coming with a firm belief.
Ajuran, let me explain the belief I believe in.
You're just saying.
You got to understand.
Ajuran,
if he didn't believe in what his family believed, they probably would have just killed him.
Let me explain what I believe.
He has to believe in Islam because his family would either reject
Let me explain
what
I believe in. Let me explain what I believe in.
This is why he does what he does.
If there's a religion that I believe in, I don't know what I exist.
His family would kill him if he didn't believe in Allah.
No. I'm not trying to hold it against him like what he believes in. I don't really.
No, he probably wanted to.
I'm not holding against him. I'm just.
Hello. Sorry. Hold on.
Teenager, why
What
like
one is coming to
Man,
say I'm
no,
talking too
no, hold
much?
on. Just hold on 1 second.
Go ahead.
trying to
Kango
save
is
you.
not fully there, and I'm not fully there as well. So you take charge, but move the. Don't voice your opinion. Move it round a bit, but you're in charge.
Yeah. All right. All right. So see, the point I was trying to make was about the my own belief. My belief, you see, how I form my belief is I try to go back in time and try to find out what our ancestors tried to accomplish with what they understood about the world. And I felt like they were trying to basically discern what the environment was all about. And this is why you see some tradition, they commune with their god through the mountains or water and all the rest of it. They don't necessarily worship the waters, and I think this is another thing, a lot of religious mistake. They use the water as a conduit to the Almighty. All of them have an Almighty God. Like in the case of Yoruba tradition, they have a Ledumare that is like in heaven, while his other pantheons of gods,
Orisha.
people go through them to him. So, and the same thing with the Hindu religion. And as a matter of fact, if you go around the world, you see similar patterns. And when people that study religions find that went back in time, what they found out was that the origin of most of all these ideologies started in Africa. And at the core of it, if they tell you how the belief that started at that time, you would think is from a physics class. They believe the world came from nothing, and from that nothing, that the world that we see now, we emerged, and human beings were created eventually, and then we started worshiping God and whatever you call it. But my own strong belief is that this world that we live in is just as spiritual as the next one. And people that believe in the world, the world that comes next, I fear they have betrayed and destroyed themselves for nothing, because
Okay.
they forsake the world that they know for something they have no clue of.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Something. Hold on. Let me.
What do you,
I just want to finish it so you can be able
okay,
to come
sorry,
at
sorry,
me
go on,
from
finish.
every angle. They forsake the world that they know for something that they don't know. They undermine the mysteriousness and the magnificence of what this existence is. That is so mysterious, for something they have no clue about. And hence, undermining this world, my belief, this world that you live in, is the creation of the Most High Himself. He created everything you are seeing. Everything you do in this world is His own will. You
I
should be
agree.
learning. You should be
Actually agree with
learning.
that.
You should be learning His language. Everywhere you turn, God is there instructing you, but people don't listen.
God,
And hence, let me give you one of my backup reasons why I think there's some truth to it. Is because
God is not
if
everywhere.
you
God is in His place above the
no,
throne.
let me explain that. When you look
Distances.
at, see, why I think that is so close, is a lot closer to the truth of what our purpose in life is when you look at the progress scientific.
I think you're preaching a little bit, but
Of
keep
course, it's
going, keep
preaching.
going.
I'm trying to give you my own religion. Now you ask me now, and I can't give you that I'm Christian because I'm not. But it's a new one, so I have to try to kind of share most of it.
You're mixing it up, yeah.
Yeah. I try to imagine it. Yeah, exactly. I try to share as much as I can from it. So the idea is that what I found was that if you look at all our previous religions, and the ones that believe in Shango and all the rest, the Shango Ogun, like the Ogun one, is tied to iron, and there's a kind of smith kind of stuff, like iron smithing
Don't forget
that comes from it.
Amadioha. Oh.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah, yeah.
forget Chineke.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's tied to some kind of scientific discipline. Sometimes most of all these different pantheons, they are tied to certain discipline. Even water, you if you are worshiping water, you understand more about water than anything else.
But there's
So
multiple ones, right? Because there's
yes,
a Yamoja and there's a Oya and there's a
yes,
Oatu. Yep.
it's all part to the creator. And when when human beings decided, this is one of the greatest achievements of the West, when they decided to separate religion from science, they started doing something that is almost more fundamental, that something that maybe our ancestors, deep ancient ancestors did. They started studying what God created, and look at what they have accomplished in how many the centuries. And it tells you that just believing something doesn't make it true. You truly have to listen. The question is, I hate to use that term. It's almost as if scientists are doing God's work more than people that think that they are praying for God.
Astaghfirullah.
Yes, you might not believe that, but what they are doing is
You know the
studying
first sin of you know the
the
first sin
very
is not
creation of
the
God
worst
itself.
sin you can do is not believe in God. So you're saying people that don't believe in God
No,
are
I'm saying
doing
they
God's
believe
work.
in God.
What?
See, they are studying His very creation.
Oh, they're not. They don't believe in God. So
How do you
clearly,
know they don't believe in God? See, the thing is, they believe there's a creator. Your problem is you define God as some kind of person with a rod and staff killing people from where that doesn't believe. That is not how it
Right.
works.
Because they invest in weapons that kill other people. So, they kill God's creation, but they say that they know him.
What God created gave them that ability. God allows tragic things to happen to us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to listen. But we are not listening. And I think this is why these people have progressed so far, while some people are there we are so
so do
righteous.
you want
There's a
to
God
follow?
that's going to come and save us.
Okay. Do you
There's
want
no
to
God
follow?
that's
Do
going to come
you
and
want to
save
follow
you.
these people?
They
Wherever they
are
go,
closer
you wanna
to
go
God.
pit.
Some of these people are closer to God than you think.
In the pit. You will jump in the pit. Is that
I
what you
tell
want?
you this. Some of these people are closer to God than you. You might
Yes.
think you are closer to God. They may be. Because they are studying the very fingerprint of God itself.
Mm-hmm. If Muhammad told you to jump in the pit, y'all would jump in the pit.
Yeah, that's the religion. Yeah.
Okay.
I've given you my religion, so you can criticize it all you want.
That's what belief in religion
And the
means.
scientists will say, like, why would you jump in the pit? Always ask the question. You guys just believe.
No, but then you don't understand Islam. You know
That's
that
not belief.
Islam basically, you know that the entire point of Islam is to submit to God. It's not understanding why He did it. It's just accepting it and go on.
Right.
There is explanations, but yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
main
know,
It's
but the
roundabout
explanation
explanation.
but hold on, but the
yeah, come.
explanation comes from Allah. That is the point. There is no such thing as, oh, you Muslim, find out what I did and then try to figure it out. It is okay, I explained something to you, that's come from Allah. Everything else, don't mind, don't care, just submit.
You know what's interesting? Like when Islam first started, you had a lot of philosophers and like mathematicians and scientists, but they were really following the traditions of the ancient Greeks. They were following traditions of like the Romans. And then when some of them started to become more secular, that's when a lot of that scientific discovery and stuff started dying down. That's when the House of Wisdom started to die down. Because the thing is that you cannot go beyond what Allah allows you to. If you do, because there was some in the 800s and the 700s that was like, maybe all this religion isn't what it is. Maybe there's something else to this that isn't, so religious or dogmatic.
No,
And
but you
when
must
that started happening,
understand.
they started getting killed, So
Yeah, now you must understand the answer to Night's thing, why it's a radical and why Muslims. It is Islam itself. It is. I always say it had multiple angles. One of the angles is Arabian cultural influence. Basically, it's a clan-based bullshit. And the other one is the decentralization. One thing you must understand is, in those countries, like the old Islamic countries, who were very acceptance, who like to do studies, try to figure out the stars, something, they always had a centralized leader. The problem with Islam today is it doesn't have a centralized leader. And without the centralized leaders, it converts back to that what I told you, this Arabic clan-based bullshit before Muhammad that never went away. So the reason why Islam is today what it is because A, it has no leader, and B, it is just a culture. That's what it is. Without a leader, that's what it is. It reverts back. And Muslim knows that. That's why when you ask them direct question, hey, Why is it like that, or what? We never tell you why. It's a culture. What happens when there is no leader and no centralization? That everything start killing each other and clan-based bullshit and outside-inside mentality. And we never tell you that directly, because the problem is that every breath, every aspect of the Quran is filled with it. Every aspect. There is no escaping it. So when you ask the question, hey, why do you not try to not do it? It's like asking, hey, why do you not replace all the culture in the Quran with French culture? Basically. It's not possible. It's not possible. Never asked, hey, why can you not tone it down? It's not possible. It's part of the soul. It's like asking Black Americans, hey, can you be less black? It's not possible.
It's too heavily tied to it. That's why everybody, whoever was a Muslim, whoever was in power, anybody that is a Muslim, always in some way tried to claim Arab ancestry. In always some way, shape, or form, they always try to claim Arab ancestry, no matter how far-fetched it is.
And like I said, I have nothing against it, but is a discussion if why you guys not toning it down is absolutely pointless. You have a better result trying to convince, I don't know, a wall to fall on its own.
That's why I said, like, the best place for them to be is where Allah put the Arab, and Allah put the Arab in the Arabian Peninsula. So it would be best for them to leave, the areas that they are and become a full Arab.
Yeah, but
live around a bunch of kafirs, right?
Because of the declaration that the entire world will become Muslim, and that the great Ummah will happen. Basically, it's a great family. Basically, it's an eternal casus belli to subjugate everything that is not Muslim. And sometimes even Muslims, when they are from a different school, like it's an eternal war, casus belli. Like there is no such thing as, okay, we didn't subjugate every people on earth, but we achieved the goal. The goal is every people. Like it never ends. The train cannot stop.
Did you hear about that girl from the UK who she left the UK to go join these groups in I don't know if it was Iran or Iraq or something like that.
ISIS enough.
Yeah, and then she got married and everything. Then she they lost, and she tried to come back, and the UK won't let her, and she's took them to court. You guys hear about this at all?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, there was several cases like that. But yeah,
and I just wonder in my head, if you don't, why do you want to come back? I'm so confused, especially because she didn't even seem apologetic about the whole joining ISIS thing. I don't get it. Why do you want to go back to the UK? Why not move to Saudi Arabia if it's a perfect place for you? I don't get it.
Very, very, very easy. You know why. Why would an outsider that fought for a specific, let us say, for a specific religious clan structural society that got his ass whooped, why does he run to another continent? Very easy. Maybe where she was, people recognize her, and you know what happens to outsiders in Islam or heretics. Grabs the stone, Jamil.
But what do you think Africans can do about it? Because now that those Sahelian countries left the ECOWAS, I'm looking at North Africa and I'm like, are they going to leave the African Union? I haven't heard anyone say that, but I'm thinking in the back of my mind, are they going to leave the African Union and do their little Arab thing? Are we okay with that? What's going on with the Arab presence in Africa? What do you guys what do you think about that?
I mean, my thing is well, it did fail at once because didn't Gaddafi try to do a whole pan-Arab thing with the North African countries, but that failed.
Yeah, he says a pan-Arab thing in North Africa will never work. Will never work. I'm sorry. Only by conquest, not by federation. Only by conquest.
That's insane. And you know what? And if they really wanted that pan-Arabism, they Saudi Arabia the UAE, all these countries will be one country. So obviously they don't want it. So it's they already so fragmented themselves. It's like there's no point.
So the problem with the
It'd be better for them to
Pan-Arabism, the problem with the Pan-Arabism is the problem is that Pan-Arabism only works authoritarian. There is no such thing as the same problem with Islam. There is no such thing as democracy in Pan-Arabism. Does not work, like literally. The entire point is, okay, we come all together, we appoint some emperor or caliph or high sultan or some shit, and he leads us. But this democracy shit will never work. That's why I know that North Africa and Pan-Arab will not work. Will not work. So they will kill each other.
You're saying Islam has an inherent clanism issue?
No. Islam was born out of clanism issue. If you follow the story of Muhammad and the people before Muhammad, the Arabs always had a clan issue. Never went away.
And you know what? And even after he died, when you get the Sunnis and the shit, because of over clan shit, because one
what was the first fitna?
That his blood is so pure that only his line can be leaders of Muslims. It's crazy.
Yeah, but that doesn't help because the first fitna, was that not the first family killing because someone wanted to be had before the other one who was older? Was that not the entire reason?
Yeah, and their sessions are really weird too, because Ali wasn't even Muhammad's son by blood, but by marriage. So it's all really weird with alliances and all that stuff, and it I don't know, it's very complicated, it's very stupid, I believe.
And was not I don't know. I don't want to talk really trash, but was the second caliphate the reason that the second caliphate was born was the entire thing because Arab was too racist? Was that not the entire reason?
I'm not sure because the Umayyads were the first ones, right?
Yeah.
And then it was the
Abbasids,
yeah. I don't know where the Abbasids come from. I think they're from Iraq, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're from Persia because. And that is I just wanted to say, when you look at Islam's history, the problems they have today, they had to the time of Muhammad, they had to the time after Muhammad, and after the caliphate collapsed, they had the two. Like it never will go away. Like that is what Tunajah meant with the inside joke. It's like saying, why can water not be solid?
Wait, do you think the clanism is exaggerated through the high practice of cousin marriage? I know it's a really big thing. The whole cousin, it's like 57% or 70% of marriages are basically cousins. Does the cousin stuff kind of exaggerate the clanism, I'm guessing, or what? Or am I not even looking into this correctly?
Maybe, but I don't. But if they're doing cousin marriage, I don't know. So they're practicing endogamy instead of exogamy. And I know exogamy was mainly how Africans did marriage, but endogamy, that's a very like Middle Eastern, because the Jews do the same thing. How you just kind of marry in within the same clan or within the same group, creates a lot of problems, and yeah, that's going to heighten clanism.
No, the clan is an argument, like I said, African, let's cut out the North African. The African Muslims don't really have a clanism problem, besides the Horners, because the Horners are a little bit special. They don't really have a clanism because like the brother said, how we marry, it's a lot different in the Middle East.
You know what? According to Abi, we need a Muslim to save us. But I don't know. Yeah, the Chinese suck, but at least the Chinese got technology. The Muslim ain't doing nothing. At least the Chinese are building roads and they building train stations, and we can learn from that. Shit, the Chinese got to the moon. I don't know no Arabs that got to the moon. Maybe the Arabs don't believe that the moon exists like that.
I mean, the Saudi Arabians are rich enough to literally buy a station and a rocket, like if they really wanted to, but they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. They rather entertain and they rather do like flashy stuff.
I think they have a kind of religions anyway. I think even Islam believes that religions have been corrupted that they came to perfect it. While in reality, they are, for me, from my belief anyway, it's just personal, my own opinion. They too are part of the corruption of what the true religion is meant to be. The people that are actually innovating and doing all those things that they are supposed to do in the world are the ones doing what religion is supposed to. It's part of it anyway, not everything. What religion is involved. You have to, explore God's creation. And after all, that is not that part of why God created Adam and Eve in the biblical context, that to help manage the world and stuff like that. So you have, if God put us here, it must be for a reason. It's not for us to be just stop interacting with the world and just start talking to Him in some kind of immaterial manner. I don't think that is true.
But the more we
yeah.
learn, the more that we have better understandings, and we usually disregard the beliefs that we had before. The fear is that the more that we learn is that maybe this isn't so true, then we start questioning this, we start questioning that. We might question Muhammad going into the cave. Maybe it was methane gas. Maybe he didn't ride on a horse that had a female head on it. Maybe he was hallucinating. Maybe it was this, maybe it's that. Maybe Allah is not that's what they're trying to prevent.
No, because you must understand, if you read, especially in the beginning of the creation, God never, if you let's just say magic is technology, let's make so, God never stopped humanity, like personally stopped humanity learning the magic, basically how to create things and manipulate things in creation. Like the knowledge of creation was something that humans could learn, even in the Bible. The problem why they always be perceived as evil is because those humans that learned it was selfish. They do things for themselves. And that's why when you're wondering why are like Islam, why they are so against religion, against scientists and something, because in their mind it's the same stories they always heard. Oh, humans learn how things work. We have stories about humans that learned how the magic of God and they did some evil shit. So better not learn the magic of God than let everything be the same.
So my question is this: do you think, because in all African religions they have Agbara or Rishis or Alusia, whatever you want to call it, they have, okay, this is a water Agbara, the water god or whatever, water deity, or Hindus, they have like rat deities, whatever. Are these deities ways of ancient ways of saying, okay, this water deity, you have to communicate with this in order to talk to God? But that's our way of the science of the water deity, the science of what, like I'm trying to say, is this a way of studying different elements in the world? So study thunder, our ancestors could create rain, right? Like I'm wondering, is having multiple gods a way of having different disciplines that people should be studying? And then one god is like, hey, just follow the order. I'm kind of freestyling. I don't know.
Or something that combines all of it together, because they all work within this one space. So maybe that's what that one god represents, and then everything else is just an aspect. So like how you have different doctors for different parts of the body. So like
I just wanted to say, multiple god worship is a little bit hard. Is a little bit hard to explain because, like you said, there are multiple gods. But yes, the gods are aspect of mostly, for the fundamental gods of nature, and having multiple god worship can lead to scientific advancement, because the point of the multiple god worship is like in ancient Greece. Oh, god of war means you must learn everything about war. When something new comes, you must learn it, because learning everything about war is how we worship our war god. Or god of agriculture means that when something new, it can lead to that. That's actually how the Romans did it. They assimilated every god they saw, and when they had a similar god, they just combined the two, and then everything was okay. It can lead to that, but it can lead to that. So yes, there is this aspect of when you have multiple gods that you try to learn the aspect of, like you said, the aspect of water. So for example, the Chinese gods were basically, the first emperor was basically someone who built dams. Basically, he was a master of water. That's the entire thing actually, is that he built dams and controlled the river. That's why he became emperor.
Oh, the first
Like,
one, the mystical one, the Yellow Emperor.
Yeah. So
Oh, no.
yeah, multiple god worship can lead to scientific advancement because of I tried to learn the aspect of that specific god of, I don't know, trees. Let's learn the god of trees.
I mean, to be honest, I mean that's the only way, because like even with the Muslims and the Christians, they're building off of what was already laid down by the Greeks and the Romans specifically, and even in India, because like the Muslims adopted the use of zero for mathematical equations and stuff like that, and the Aztec and the Mayans came up with it on their own independently. But like these Indian scientists in India, they were already doing all these math. They also had treaties on like architecture, mathematics, politics, and they were, they were pantheists. China is doing the same thing. Pantheists, you really do get scientific innovation. Muslims are good at going around and trading with people and adopting ideas. They'll adopt the ideas into their worldview, but originally they were good adopters of different things, because for the longest time Europeans wouldn't even touch Arabic numerals, which is the number system we use today, because they got it from the Muslims. They call it demonic. So like it's so the Abrahamic faiths are very slow to adopt things, but what they do have, they get from polytheistic cultures.
That's interesting. I'm just wondering if there's a relationship between that. This is really interesting. This whole like one God, okay, just do what this God tells you what to do. This difference between you guys, this difference between doing what I say and investigating these disciplines. There's like a difference in that way of thinking. You need to do what I say versus I'm gonna research and figure out some answers on my own. That's
the problem. The problem with the one God is not actually that it's one God. The problem is the worship of past. That's the problem, because even when Tunacha talked about how the European separated religion, that was a very long process with inquisitions and a lot of you go in front of the Pope to have him judge you because you did something. The problem is that one God religion has the tendency to worship the past, where the one God religion became big. And humans always evolve. That means it's like Wahhabism. What kind of stupidity is that? Live like Muhammad in Muhammad's time. Like what Muhammad's grandchild didn't live in Muhammad's time. Like what stupidity is this?
Dye your beard red, because that's what Muhammad did. Like it's all kind of weird stuff. It's like it's a worship of the past. None of these people living today has ever met this dude, never met anybody that lived around him or knew him. It's just passed down. But the punishment for leaving, for you being apostate, is death. Your family will either disown you or they will kill you. That's not every Muslim family, but in the Quran, that's what it is. That is what is told of you to do. Like you have a family member, it's death. So under pain of death, you're not leaving Islam.
Yeah, I have a friend who he has to lie to his family that he's a Muslim because they'll just completely disown him. Like they have to disown him if he ever comes out as a non-Muslim. And I'm just like, your parents have something to pass on to you? Yeah,
No, but maybe it's because I grew up very, very in Germany and that, but the Muslim stuff never really were like, oh, that's now a determinant factor, because in the Middle East, like being a Muslim doesn't have a lot of weight, like straight up, like since and that is something I realized since the Turkish people, the Central Asians that are now in Anatolia came in. Being a Muslim doesn't have any weight, like it's straight up. Don't know what the Turkish people, no, it doesn't. Turkish people destroyed the concept of this Arabized supremacy in the Middle East.
Because they already had a strong sense of ethnic identity. I mean, like,
Yep.
some of them might have claimed, like, you could say the same thing with like even like the hostas and stuff like that. But the problem is that they're always claiming Arab ancestry, and they're always claiming that they're better because of this Arab ancestry. Now, but there's so many different like facilities with hosta, because some hosta do some of the practices that they did before Islam come. So they're very complicated themselves. But like, you know, it's like if you have a strong identity that is not tied to Arab, and Arab people, like literal Arab people, didn't come in and replace basically your whole like political, like governmental system, like it happened in Egypt and in like North Africa. I mean, like you said with Iran and Turkey, there's a lot more secular. Well, maybe not with Iran, but originally with Iran, but with Turkey, a lot more secularism. There's people who grew up Muslim and say like, "Hey, I'm not Muslim anymore. I'm agnostic. I'm atheist," and they can live in Turkey and not have a problem.
Yeah, because of the Turkish identity. Like that is the reason why. Well, like I said, I grew up in Germany. A lot of Turks around me. Muslim thing was never the real problem. Like Turks don't really have the big problem. Oh, you are not Muslim. That's not real. They try to convert you. Hey, become a Turk. Become a Turk. Become a Turk. But they're not really. Hey, become a Muslim.
Right. For them, it's cultural.
So you have the Turks because of the Ottoman Empire, I guess. You have the Iranians because of Persia, I guess. Who else has a lot of ethnic pride, though? And then you have these clans. You have these monarchies all across the
Technically, you have the Syrians, but yeah,
but I don't think the Assyrians, like the actual ethnic group of Syrians, are Muslims.
Yeah.
Muslim Syrians. But when people say that the Assyrian ethnic group, most of them are Christian, I think.
Yeah, that's why it's a gray zone for me. It's a gray zone because it's a little bit weird for me. Like,
why do Syrians have ethnic pride? What do they do that make them feel like they're not Arab? I mean, I don't get it.
Technically, they're not Arab.
Then they're not Arabs. Technically, there's their own ethnicity, and it goes back to the Mesopotamian cultures, the Assyrians. The Assyrians, but this is the problem is the Assyrians is they got so conquered so many times that because Assyrian culture in itself is very assholish. Like Assyrians are like the assholes of the Middle East when you really break it down.
Yeah, it said that predominantly they are mostly Syriac Christianity and a minority of Protestantism and Judaism. They're not even Muslim for real. But they claim descent from, like you said, Mesopotamians. But Mesopotamians themselves, because like Assyrians, they speak like a Semitic language like the Arabs and like everybody else around them. But the Mesopotamians, like on a genetic level and on like a language level, they're not like Semitic people. They're kind of like their own thing.
That's why when it comes to the Syrians and the Iraqi, I'm always like, hey, technically there should be their own thing, but they go into the mental of Arabs.
Right. Because they're surrounded by them.
No.
So they had to pay the jizya tax back in the day.
Yeah, and technically there's the Egyptians, most cucked nation in Africa, if you ask me.
Exactly. That's why I hate it when like, because when I study West African history, I always hate it when the Hoteps keep connecting, especially with Yoruba, Igbo, and like Akan culture with like ancient Egyptian. They always point to some crazy person of those groups saying like, oh, see, they say that we ancient Egyptians. Like they're not. Like they're literally not. Like there's no like artifacts that you can find, or even like language groups or families that are connected to ancient Egypt.
Wait, but do you think Egypt was black though?
No.
Wait.
Ancient Egyptians are ancient Egyptians. Some of them would be considered black today, but not all of them.
No, so the problem is that is something I don't know. I don't understand why Hopetas want to die on that hill. Is there claim Egypt? They don't claim the Nile Valley culture. Do you know the difference? between Nile culture and Egypt?
Tell
Kemetic,
us.
Kemetic culture. So the people who actually lived on the Nile,
Yeah.
but not people that living in a Siwa oasis or like all that other stuff. Even though that's within Egypt,
Yeah. Because
but
the
you have
cultures,
different cultures, right?
yes, that's what I said. There's a Nile Valley culture, the Kemetic culture. It's bigger than Egypt itself, like straight up.
Right, because you Nubians are also now anybody that would have settled. So like Egyptians are not the only people in the Nile Valley. So like yeah, of course the people from Kerma and people on what do you call it after the cataracts that they're black people, obviously. But like the ancient Egyptians, some of them would have been black, some of them would have looked like other Middle Easterns. But mainly genetically they are North Africans. That's not what a West African is.
Yeah.
But wait, what do you think about? Because I used to not believe the whole Black Egypt thing, but then I started. I've read that like basically the Arabs came into Egypt during the Islamic expansion.
They
So
did, but they only so they didn't replace the genetic population because when you look at ancient Egyptian DNA today, 70% of their DNA is connected to North Africa. So the ancient
who did
Egyptians
that? Who did that study?
they became Arabized, huh?
No, wait. What does it mean to be Arabized though? Doesn't that
Be
mean
Arabized. So like it's like Gaddafi, right? Gaddafi would say that he's Arabic, right? Because his tribe claims Arabism, but when they do genetic studies on the tribe that he's from, he's a Berber. So genetically they're North Africans, but since they've been Arabized and they adopted like the name of an Arabic ancestor that they probably had, they identify as Arabs, even though they're Berbers. So this happened throughout North Africa. This didn't really happen in other places in like Africa south of the Sahara, where they might have had a Arab ancestor, but they still visibly looked black. But North African Berbers look similar, not all the time, but they look similar to Arabs. Sometimes it's hard for us to tell the difference, but genetically they are distinct from them.
Yeah, they're different. There's a genetic difference. I just wanted to say to the black Egyptian. Technically, the founder of the first dynasty was in Sudan. So yeah, he was probably dark as hell.
Mm-hmm.
If he had curly hair, we don't know. Not all Sudanese have curly hair, and he conquered from the south to the north.
Yep.
That we know about. That we know. So he probably would be, if he would run around in America, would be a black guy. Would consider be a black guy. Basically, he would look like Myron from Fresh and Fit. He would look like maybe a little bit darker like Myron from Fresh and Fit. But so the problem I have is okay. So founder was it, but the problem is you always claim. I go now to northern half, the Egyptian half, the always conquered half. No one claims the south of Egypt that always resisted the invader. Did you ever notice that?
No. You're right though. Okay, but wait, here's another thing. Don't you think? Because when I think of Arabization is also like what they did, what the Spanish did in Latin and South America, right? Like,
yeah,
they came in, they had a lot of sex, they killed the men. Just like the Bible, kill all the men, take all the women. I mean, you don't think this happened during the Islamic expansion? Because that's what they say should happen.
So here's the thing. So with the Spanish, right? That wasn't always. This did happen. Actually, this is perfect. So Mexico is a great example. You ain't gonna find nothing but like Spanish speaking. Well, you got indigenous speakers there, but when you look at a Mexican, when they describe Mexicans, and when I see Mexicans, these people are short, they brown skin, and they have jet black straight hair, look like Asian hair.
Yeah,
Spanish people don't look like that. Spanish people look like the typical white people.
Oh, that's a good point. But the leadership of Mexico looks like that, though.
Is that something different?
The majority of Mexicans, Guatemalan, Central Americans, they look like that. And Peruvians, you go to like Puerto Rico and stuff, they look basically white. Or if they aren't like, just like straight up black or just a mixture of, whatever. And the Spanish they have more better admixture in the Caribbean parts and in like South, in like, Argentina and like Brazil and stuff like that than they did in Mexico. Mexico and Peru are the most Native American Hispanic countries out of all of them. And any of these Mexicans that come up, they all got Spanish name throughout. no indigenous name, can't speak an indigenous language, but when they go on YouTube and they do a DNA test, they 60, 70, 80, 90% Native American. It was one chick who said that she had a Spanish ancestor. She took a DNA test. She 100% Native American. Never seen it.
But the leadership, but you're right. But the leadership is always
that is something different. That's why he quotes about like try to explain Arabization. It's not changing of the art mixture. There is an art mixture change, but it's not very devastating. It's not like 100% change. That is like with Latin America. I always laugh because they always say, "Oh, we are Spanish, we are Spanish, we are Spanish." And like my guy, I know how Spanish people look. So they don't look like you.
They don't.
I mean, I've never been to Egypt, but like, don't a lot of them look Arab? I mean,
but a lot of Berbers and like North Africans, they look very close to that. So like an Arab would even tell you, like somebody from Saudi Arabia said, like, you know, Egyptians, they don't look like us. I can't tell the difference because they both got Arab names and they both, you know, got that unibrow shit. But Berbers are hairy like that. Berbers look like that. The
problem is and that is something that African Americans must accept. Even if the Berbers don't have the same genetics as like Middle Easterners from Saudi Arabia,
right?
There are back migration. Do you know what a back migration is? So it means they left Africa somehow into Dakota region. They chilled in Dakota region. Didn't mix with anything. Just wanted to say, no mixing. They just left Africa and said they came back. That means if you are 1,000 years outside of a hot climate, going into a cold climate, what do you think will happen?
They will go back because a lot of Berbers,
that's your way of explaining their phenotype, right? The way they
why they say as a phenotype, why they as a pale, and they came back, but they didn't mix with it. Okay, so there's always a mixture, like there is no 100%, especially in the north, 100% Berber.
You know what? Here's a perfect example. So the people of Canary Island, when the Spanish first go to the Canary Islands, there was a group of people there that were very hairy. They said that they had like white to brown skin and they were very hairy and they were Stone Age. They had no metal tools, no nothing. And their language is that they whistle. They had like how like the click consonants and like, you know, Khoisan languages, they whistled in their language. And they brought some of these people and they have depictions of these people brought to Spain. These people are the purest example of Berbers. They left North Africa and went onto this island and they're genetically isolated. So when they do DNA tests of Berbers, they use Canary Islanders, not the Canary Islanders of today, but ancient Canary Islander examples in order to compare what the ancient Berber genome was like, because there was a genetic bottleneck in North Africa for like at least 1,000 years. So that's why there's a distinctive North African DNA markers.
Yeah, and the problem too is like, because we had this discussion, we asked North African, okay, when did your genetics change and you become Berber? And the funny thing is, because they dig some bones out of North Africa, is how older the bones are, desto more Negroid looking are the Berbers before they migrated out. Then they digged out bones after they came back, Caucasian. The difference was only 5 to 7% between those bones, the genetic difference. That's why when you asked, okay, when did the Berber become the Berber? They never can. There is no fixed date because they migrated back.
Yeah, I see what you guys are saying. This is tough for me though. I'm not gonna lie.
It's crazy, but like all intents and purposes, there's gonna be people that look like us in ancient Egypt who would have been along the Nile, people who would have been involved in constructing the pyramids. But there's also people that look like Zahi Hawass too. There's also people that look like that real pale. There's people there too. I'm not saying Egypt was mixed. It's just Egypt just got a range of skin tones.
But that's a good point, though, that it's possible that both of you guys is the point that, maybe it wasn't all of North Africa, but it probably, that whole Nile,
Right.
definitely there was probably something going on, right?
So.
Yeah, hold on. One thing you must understand: there is no such thing as there are no black people in North Africa. That is stupidity. That is Western stupidity and ignorance. There are black people in North Africa. Not many, but they are there.
Are there historically too? Because the person, what do you call it? The earliest mummy, I can't pronounce it, but the 2-year-old that they found in like the ostrich shell or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the first mummified corpse, he has Negro features. That has not changed. So he was from a black group of North Africans. So there's always been black people in North Africa. It's just that when it comes to Egypt being a homogeneously black society from pre-dynastic to the Roman conquest or the Persian conquest, no, that didn't exist. They always been mixing with people outside. There's been people who look like us building pyramids and people that look like them building pyramids. They was all together. I won't say it's a mixed society because that mix happened specifically in Egypt, and it's just varying degrees of that mix. Even the dark ones had a mix of other things from outside of Africa. So Egyptian is a specific group of people who have particular mixes within a particular region. That's what makes you Egyptian.
Yeah, and I find it funny when, because we had some Europeans at discussion and they showed me, oh, look at the portraits of basically Roman citizens. So because only Roman citizens were rich enough, or the Greek colonizers were rich enough to basically had portraits and all that things in official documents and something like that. And they showed me, and I thought to myself, that these are Roman citizens. So if I see Roman citizens with brown skin and an afro, what does that mean with the rest of Rome?
Exactly.
And then they thought about it and thought, because they always had to claim that Romans looked blue-eyed, pale skin, straight hair. And then they showed me picture, and then because I wanted to show me that, oh no, Egyptians are white, and I said that are not Egyptians, they're Roman citizens.
That's
living in Egypt. They're Roman citizens living in Egypt.
That's crazy. But see, my main issue with the whole chematology or the whole Kemet thing, the Hotep shit, is that they try to use the sneakily using the Hamitic hypothesis to claim civilization in West Africa. Some say that they don't, but some of them do, because they highly suggest that because Egyptians left, that they created civilizations elsewhere in Africa, and I disbelieve that. I do not believe that at one moment they did not carry their culture over and bring it to West Africa, because where's the Medjugorje? Where is Shadoofs? Where is their technology? Where is all this other stuff? Where is their metalworking? The metalworking in West Africa is indigenous. West Africa is one of the few places where not West Africa, like Africa south of the Sahara, is one of the few places on this planet where iron metallurgy was developed independently.
No. Where iron metallurgy was invented before bronze metallurgy.
Yes.
Africans were rocking iron before they discovered bronze.
Right.
But when you're from a bronze civilization,
they didn't get it from North Africa.
No, that is a funny thing, and that's why there's a difference. Because how are you descendants of a bronze civilization, and you have iron tools before you? Your iron tools are older than your bronze tools.
Mm-hmm. A lot of discoveries that West Africans made themselves. Agriculture, another thing. Agriculture was also independently developed in West Africa specifically. From independently from any other region. So Egyptians would have had to bring their agriculture to eat. So West Africans didn't traditionally farm like Egyptians, because Egyptians had to use on the Nile. West Africans could actually farm without being near water sources. That's not something Egyptians did. So
Well, I'm wondering, is it possible that I think you're generally correct, but do you think it's possible that because a lot of these ethnic groups or tribes or nations are heterogeneous populations, do you think certain segments of tribes came from different populations, which is where some of these stories came from?
100%. Because no. I see your point. So like they'll use this and spin it as in like they're from ancient Egyptians, but like sometimes they're not. When they say the East, they're not talking that far east. Some people do come from like the Hausa. Parts of the Hausa do come from like the Sudan area. That's proven DNA wise.
Mm-hmm.
That's proven. And also they speak an Afro-Asiatic language. A lot of that stuff is but when we talk about the Akan and like the Yoruba and like that's the DNA is not there, the language is not there. I mean, like, it's like these groups together have more similarity in common and share more of a common ancestor, probably in the Nuk people or people who adopted things from the Nuk, than they do with like other populations in Africa.
It's a problem with that is the same problem I have with the Hebrew Israelite. It's like let's say genetics don't play a role because there were populations that converted and they have nothing to do genetically with the Hebrews, ancient Hebrews. But the problem is where are they now? Like because they tell me like with like you said with the Egyptian culture, where are the monuments? Where are the stories? Where are they now?
Mm-hmm. Like where's the? I mean, you get. I heard somebody twist the Yoruba myth of like Obatala coming down on the chain and putting the mound of sand onto the onto the endless ocean, the primordial ocean, and having a chicken or like some type of like rooster or whatever like spread it out. They compare that to the Ben Ben, but in the story of the Ben Ben with Ptah, I think the Ben Ben came out of the water. Nobody poured anything into the water. So like the stories are mixed up. The like this. I mean, I understand stories will change over time, but like this is just something that's just emblematic of a lot of African cultures and a lot of African stories and myths. So like when we talking about the Egyptian gods, there doesn't seem to be like a all over god that created.
And the problem with the Egyptian gods is you can clearly see that over time the quote unquote Egyptians, or as I call it, Norse and Kemet, adopted a lot of gods from other Hamitic cultures, for other Nile Valley cultures. The original pantheon was not that big. They adopted a lot of from the Nile. So when I think to myself, hold on. So you're telling me that a religion that adopts other gods when they are in contact with those people, where are the gods in West Africa?
Okay, guys, but here's the thing. I think I hear what you guys are saying, but I do think there's a lot of ethnic cleansing happens a lot, and people rewrite history, literally. So I feel like part of I think we've seen a lot of in our time we've seen ethnic cleansing happen. We know what kind of ethnic cleansing happened 200 years ago. But when you fast forward to 2,000 years from now, you see what I'm saying? People may not tell the story that there were once Native Americans in America. Like, people may not tell this story. And then people will analyze the genetics of the population there and say, look, they're mostly European. They probably came from Greenland. Like, you're not going to hear about Native Americans being here. You're going to hear about, we went to Greenland, then we populated an empty place. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of people
is nowadays. That's nowadays. And that is because of the ideology nowadays. Like for example, when we talk about West Africa, we know of the Nok, but we know we are not the Nok.
Mm-hmm.
So if we know of people which culture got ethnically cleansed, as you say, or for me it's just changed.
That's ethnic cleansing now. Come on, that's ethnic cleansing.
But here's the thing, though. So, like, So here's the thing. So like the British, right? The
Yeah.
British are a combination of like people who would have been Celtic, who would have been Germanic, who would have been all this and other that, right? But
Yeah.
nobody in England identifies as Iceni. Nobody identifies as like, you know, all these other Celtic tribes that existed there, but they are genetic descendants
Yeah.
of those people. But it's just that the term changed and the culture changed. So if you want to say that when it comes to like some Egyptians came down from Egypt into West Africa and they just changed and they're not saying that they're Egyptian anymore. But the problem is that there's already people in West Africa. So what's going on with them? And there are people that already have a distinctive culture in West Africa. Because like the Nook was around like, you know, during like the Middle Kingdom of Egypt before the Persian conquest. So you know, there's already distinctive cultures already in West Africa.
So do you guys
Yeah.
have issue with this because you feel like there's two problems? You have issue with it because one, you feel like it puts a back on the Arabs, back like, oh, we need to take back North Africa, or do you feel like it's just a distraction from sub-Saharan Africa? Like, you know.
Me personally, I think it's a distraction because like we directly come from and when our ancestors were brought over here during slavery, I don't know if you guys had the same story, but I'm descendant of enslaved Africans. They weren't practicing patah nothing. They would call in Odulamare. They would call in Chupu. Yeah, Chineke, yeah. We see the Igbo, we see the Bakongo, we see the Yoruba, we see the Voodoo. Ain't nobody calling Patah, nobody calling, you know, Osiris or nothing like that, or Heru, none of that. So when our ancestors came over here, we was squarely Western Central Africans.
That's true. Yes, that's true.
So I feel like Egypt is not a problem. I love ancient Egyptian architecture, their wall paintings. I love all that stuff. But I feel like it's a distraction from where we should really start. And I feel like that Egypt, when they talk about Egypt, they're trying to color West Africa as Egyptian when West Africa is so unique and did its own thing independently from other places in Africa. Not to say that it wasn't influenced from other places in Africa, which it was because of trade, but they are unique to where they are. And a lot of the things that they did independently from any other people in Africa or in the planet. So that's, you know.
Yeah, for me, it's like, hey, if some of the people outside of Africa want to conquer Egypt, like it's another notch in the belt for Egypt getting conquered by outsiders. It's nothing new. It's like it's a culture.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem I have is, okay, it's like someone who has 1% Italian and then tries to claim all of the Roman Empire. Like how many generations must you skip? Because to me it's disrespectful. Like I have nothing against it if you no, for me it's disrespectful. It's like, yeah, you have nothing against it if you want to worship such specific branch, but be clear, you skipping a lot of generations of ancestors to go to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically saying that all those ancestors do not matter at all.
The new panelists, come on in. By the way, new panelists, come on in. Yeah, after man, you finish what you're saying, James.
How you doing, guys? How you doing, man? Yeah, my thing is that they're just West Africans. The thing is that those West Africans before they're even people settling the Nile Valley, because like when you had the Green Sahara, which I believe that West Africans, like we all have, we're descended from the Green Sahara, period. So if you want to go with the whole Green Sahara thing, which some of them tried to do, go ahead, because we are descended from people who lived in the Green Sahara. So, but the thing is that those people, when it started becoming more of a desert, some leave and go south and become like, you know, the people who would eventually populate, you know, West Africa, central part of Africa, and, you know, and all that. And then you have people who move towards the water sources, people going more north towards the coast in the Mediterranean, and people going towards the Nile Valley. So if we have shared elements of culture, it would have started in the Green Sahara before people actually even started settling the Nile Valley, because there was no point to settle the Nile Valley because, you know, you could just hunt on the plains because there was enough water there. The Nile Valley is drawing to people because of the rapid desertification. So there are people and cultures in West Africa already before people even start doing that. So our ancestry is very squarely based in West and Central Africa. It is what it is, and there is a genetic, you know, difference between us. But I'm not going to say that there isn't any influence from Egypt. It would have came eventually, even if it came through Arabs, Egyptians themselves, or whatever, or Berbers. But we are what we were in West Africa. Egyptians didn't create anything to make us what our ancestors was.
Okay. Are we still talking about the, the 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 difference between Islam and Christianity in Africa and what?
Yeah. We still talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What I think is that the two religions can get on. There- There's there, there's no reason for for anybody to go to war. They everybody in both different lands, or Hausa or Yoruba territory, have children to look after. They've got the average citizen. They've got their life to live. They're not concerned about who who's worshiping what. But in case that does happen, let's say when I've I've seen a video from a long time ago when a Christian girl was basically attacked by 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 a whole school or a whole community because she said something bad uh, about Muhammad, and the 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 government representative in that area were also Muslim, and they were condemning her. So when things like that happen, uh, there, there needs to be a, a, a centralized government to deal with those kind of things. But uh, there isn't a centralized government in Africa. There, there is no uh, centralized government in African countries. We all know by now that there are puppet leaders in African countries, and they don't have any kind of authority to place laws or reaffirm laws. Just recently, I think there were over 190 children kidnapped by Boko Haram in Nigeria, and nothing's going to be done about it because uh, Boko Haram is a creation of a foreign entity, and the same foreign entity also i- implements the puppet president in that country. So we all know what's going on. It's not the religion that's the problem, because when let's say when people go crazy in the UK, you have radical people that go crazy and attack Muslim. They get punished for it. They get punished by the government. It's the same way around. The government has an authority. They implement the laws, but there is no uh, central government in that country. There is no central government. There is no central authority. There is no power that's been that's been established by the autochthon people. That's the people who who have been in that country for a long time, as the brother was saying, for thousands of years. They do not. they do not control the political elites in that country. They do not have a say on what's going to happen anymore. So uh, whenever you see uh, acts of violence being committed uh, because of religion, it's it's probably because of the people who are controlling things from the shadows. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Anyway.
I mean, I do agree they definitely can get along because we've seen it before. So, and you say like when it comes to like the Yoruba, like you got family members who are Muslim, you got family members that are Christian. Like even in my own family, there's like I'm not Yoruba, but like when I got members in my family, I got Christian members in my family. They get along. Is
Yeah.
it's but the identity of family is stronger than the religion. Religion is seen
Do,
as
do, do,
a
so,
personal.
brother, can I
Yeah.
can I ask you a question?
Hmm.
Do you know about the Ghana Empire?
Yes. Wagadu. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. They had trade routes throughout Africa, and they were building building wells with uh with other communities as far as East Africa, just to maintain those trade routes.
Right.
They were building wells with Muslim community, indigenous community. The Ouagadougou Empire was an indigenous religious community. They, they were basically working with the Berbers, who were Muslims.
Right.
So we didn't have a problem. We didn't have a problem. The problem
Do,
came
do,
in when the
do you
the
know?
Arabs.
Do you know you state that, but like the Berbers were enslavers too. They came to West Africa,
Hmm.
enslaving people. They're not even Arabs. Like Berbers are,
African.
yeah, African. They got conquered by the Arabs. They were conquering other people too.
Yeah. So the Arabs are also like, I mean, the Berbers. So the Berbers are like adjacent. So I don't know because some tribes historically are called Berbers white. So like the thing is that whenever they become, actually no, that's not even true because even before Islam they was enslaving each other. It seems like before then they would use whoever had like this new technology or had like a more expansive trade route they would trade with because it will bring more riches to their society. It will bring more power to their society if they had trade routes and had things that coming from other places to show how powerful they were and what their connections were. Because like you said, like with Ouagadougou, the original people weren't even the original kings and stuff like that. They weren't even a Muslim. They would be later on, but they weren't Muslim at first. So like that had to be established. But that identity of them being what they were stronger. And no, the king didn't have to. And the Muslims that came in didn't even want the king to even convert like that. They had their own space. They had their own this. So it wasn't even a concern for them. It doesn't become a concern until some of the jihads start happening, where a more stricter interpretation of Islamic law, Sharia law, was being enforced because you can't enforce Sharia law outside of violence. At least historically, I've never seen it done. So it's some jihad always had to happen. It had to come before you had these strict interpretations of Islam and like until you get things like Boko Haram and stuff like that. It's and I don't know whether that's triggered by like hardships during like famines and stuff like that, where they feel like they need to turn to their gods in order to have like you know in order to relieve the environmental pressures or relieve the economic status or or even social climate, that they turn to this very strict interpretation of Islam. But that always seems to be like something that initiates it. So
I
so
believe
uh
I believe it's it all depends on the leader, the caliphate, on what they decide and their interpretation on how on what they they choose to do with the religion, or if they choose to use it for war, if they choose to use it for charity, it can be interpreted how how they want it to be interpreted through the mosque. So they're in control, and just like how a pastor is in control over over the church. So whenever they feel empowered and they want to go to war to take over a nation, they use the Quran. They use the Quran. Uh, they've been doing that throughout Africa. The Ouagadougou Empire fell because of that's that exact reason. Uh, they just thought that they were powerful enough, and the Moroccan Sultanates decided to invade Ouagadougou. So, and they used pretext of them not wanting their their uh their women to adopt traditional Islamic practices or behaviors. The Ouagadougou Empire had a matrilineal system where the leader would come from the line of the woman, and the the sultan the sultanate the Arab sultanate just used that as a pretext to conquer Ouagadougou. So it's up to the leaders of how on how they interpret the religion to the people. So it's a very like two double edged religion, or that it's if a religion can be used by by human beings to portray genocide, is I can no longer call it a religion. It's basically failed.
Right. I mean, like you also have like what do you call it? There was a dude, this what Salim Suwari or something like that, where he believed that you shouldn't forcefully convert people into Islam; that they will eventually come into it by themselves. So he was kind of seen as like a he was actually Soninke, who are the people who built Ouagadougou, or at least the descendants of the people who built Ouagadougou. Where that like you do have different like Islamic traditions of like, hey, you don't go in and force the non-believer into being a Muslim. I mean, if it's Allah's will for them to become a believer, He will do it. But He said like it's not right to enslave them, and it's not right to do this, or it's not right to do that. So you do have that way of thought that even developed itself independent from other things in West Africa, but it seems like that stuff is kind of lost, and that like they feel like a more strict interpretation and a more connection to uh Islam in its Arabic sense, is what's needed in the region. Obviously, is tearing it apart, but you can have that. It's just that is not what most people are choosing. That's not what is being chosen. A strict interpretation is being chosen today, and that's what's being pushed forward, and that's the issue. I mean, the same thing could easily happen with Christianity, but that's not happening right now.
Yeah, we haven't seen that with Christianity in Africa. And actually, we've seen uh, Christian organizations turning into cults and convincing convincing their members to commit. that word, the S word. So it's with both religions. There's problems with both religions. As long as the religions uh, tell you that you need a middleman in order for you to reach a higher state of being, it's a problem. So as long as the in Christianity, as long as there's pastors and and uh and priests, they can interpret the Bible on how they see fit, because it's there isn't one Bible that that's interpreted uh one specific. Actually, you could say there is, because if you go back to the Jewish religion, you could say, why don't they just use the Torah or the other stuff? Because those are clear. What you have to wear, what you have to, how you have to behave,
Mhm.
etc. That's more clearer than the Bible. But uh, with the Bible, it's it was a tool that was put together for the purpose of conquest. We we know that. We know uh, the Roman Catholic, or not even the Roman Catholic, the Roman Empire had
Right.
had a change in religion. I don't know what century it was, but they had a change in religion. They saw that the methodology of conquest was not working how they wanted it to work. So they had to now uh, basically try to conquer people's minds instead of people's, let's say, instead of conquer people physically. So they changed the religion, and they, throughout Rome, they changed the religions, and they decided to adopt one religion, and they 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 changed it to 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 include a savior, so people can go through that savior, and the the Roman emperor, or the elites can be that savior. Or I don't know about Islam. I think Islam is exactly the same thing. The Arabs put the religion together by by learning the Torah to do exactly the same thing, so they can so they can conquer. So we know where all the religions are coming from. They're coming from a people who had intention to conquer the world. So
Yeah, it seems like it's because the Jewish people don't really do that whole conversion thing. They'll tell you, at least I don't know, the Ashkenazis will tell you they got to deny you 3 times before you become Jewish. Um, yeah, they kind of try to keep to themselves. But when Jesus was on the mount before he ascends, according to their tradition, he says you got to go around the world and teach this. This is already a conquering thing. So the problem is that Islam, Christianity, actually, my whole issue is that these religions come from a particular area that we don't come from. That's my main issue with Christianity, Islam, and all this other stuff. These did not come from the continent of Africa. People will try to rework it and say that, like, well, the concepts of stuff really came from Africa. I don't even believe that. This is just emblematic of a particular people from a particular time period in a place that is outside of Africa. So these are foreign religions coming in to Africa and replacing the indigenous religions. And the people who are descendant And the people who are of these ethnic groups that had these religions would turn on their ancestors and say that what their ancestors did was primitive, and actually, instead of like changing the law, like, yeah. So with some rituals, like among like the Yoruba or like the Igbo, there's sacrifice. There's human sacrifice. In some cases, you go way back in the day, but that can change because the Japanese changed it. Because the Japanese and even the ancient Egyptians used to do human sacrifice. Then they saw like, all right, this isn't really working, so they changed it. They didn't give up what they believed in or what they did. They just changed the practice. Because religion, all it is just, spiritual cultural practices. They can change. People change, religion changes. So even what Muslims were doing back in the day, Muslims don't even do today. They don't even speak the same language, because modern day Arabic is not even the same Arabic that's in the Quran. So things will change, obviously. So I feel like what our ancestors who became Christians or Muslims should have changed what they already believed in to fit a more modern world, or more of a or to modernize themselves. And you see people who do that seem to be successful. So the Chinese did that. The Japanese did that. Like, a lot of these successful people don't shirk away from who they are, what their language was, and who they worship. And I don't know, they become powerful. So it's because, like, even when the Europeans became Christians, they were fighting and killing each other way before they even started like doing colonization. They had to mold Christianity into something that is like theirs in order to become successful. They were just highly destructive to themselves for centuries before they go out and start colonizing, because they were following somebody else's way. So I feel like these religions, we don't need them, but if we do have them, they have to be Africanized. But especially with Islam, it's so tied to Saudi Arabia. It's so tied to that country, because one of the pillars is that you have to make the Hajj. You already are making, like, you are already going over there and patronizing that country, like that area, just because of it's considered a holy site, and that's within the tenets of the religion. And a lot of these sacred sites in Christianity and in Islam are outside of Africa. So already you have to leave Africa in order to be a good Muslim, in order to be a good Christian. So it is what it is. I just say we never really had any peace until since those religions came.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Totally agree. Uh, I don't think we'll be able to get back to how we were fully, because there is no there is no removing Christianity without having a civil war.
Right.
There is no removing Islam without having a civil war. So we there is a comeback of African spirituality happening throughout Africa. It's a slow process, but it's happening gradually. People are starting to take more interest in African traditional practices, because they're actually seeing that it's tying them to the land.
Mm-hmm.
African traditional practicing is know know a lot of herbs. They know a lot of herbs. They know a lot of stuff about the environment, and and it's been a weird relationship between African spirituality and the the brothers and sisters who convert into uh, Christianity or Islam,
Mm-hmm.
because they always go back to African spirituality whenever they have problems. Like
Mm-hmm.
they
They go to the
they want to
Babylao.
get married.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go to the Babalao. They want to get married. They want to uh, a specific man to be attracted to a woman. They want to get luck. They go to the Babalao, and
Hmm.
you can even be a fake Babalao these days because
Yeah.
they don't know what they look what what a Babalao supposed to be, or
Right.
or 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 what a Babala are supposed to do. So they can be conned very easily. And it's a strange relationship. So there is a comeback of African spirituality or African uh, religions and traditions, but it's not being pushed as heavily as Christianity or Islam because uh, Christianity and Islam is actually being pushed by foreign entities. They need to sell Bibles. They need to uh, they need to control the masses politically. Like I was saying on the other day before, whenever the elections around come around in African countries, the pastors, the imams, they get they get mob they get active. They start mobilizing their communities because they're paid off.
Hmm.
They're paid off. They participate and bring the people to to a sham because we know the people are voting out of two parties and those parties have been there for 40 years and they've been they've been run by dictators for 60 years and there's not going to be a change. So you need somebody to keep the people active and or to keep the people engaged in this sham or political sham. So you need the pastors, and you need the imams and they get paid. So
See, Sham, and how
uh,
politically charged it is, and it's all that. And like you said, like it's about getting back to the earth. And I only found out recently, like the concept of like humans separating themselves from like the earth, like we're not that we're separate, that we're a separate entity from like all this other stuff that we see around us is really a concept that the ancient Greeks came up with, and that was transmitted eventually through like the Christianity and Islam, seeing yourself as like different. And I noticed that even when you look at a lot of these other like traditional spiritualities, when you look at the Yoruba, you look at the Igbo, you look at even like the Japanese, we are not separate from this reality. We're not separate from this. Like we are a part of this. We exist within this. We are a part of this. We come from this, and we will go back into it. So there's always a cycle. Like there isn't like an end of the world where everything gets corrected and judged and everything like that. In African spirituality, is everything is just recycled. This is just forever. As far as we know, this is forever. We are constantly being recycled. So that's, I don't know. Might sound weird to some people because we're because how I was raised with Christianity. It's you got to do this so you look good. So when Jesus come back, you won't go to hell. So everything is like a prep. They make you a doomsday prepper
what
spiritually.
what I'm looking what I'm looking forward to is I wish I can see one day is actually see let's say second generation uh, consciousness or second generation consciousness frequency. That what I'm talking about is uh, we have to come out of the programming, us. We were programmed when we were young by our parents. We had to go through the religious programming. We had to go through the the conditioning, the social conditioning that you go through when you're living in a foreign country, and you're only seeing uh you're not seeing a positive image of yourself from from the society. You're only seeing a positive image of the person who they say is supposed to be your conqueror, or your colonizer, or your ex-colonizer. So we went through those type of programming, and we had to come out of those type of programming. We have to come out of Christianity, Islam, and learn the missing link, which is our history. Learn who we were 500 years ago, what we were doing. We had to break our programming. So what I'm talking about in terms of second generation frequency is the children that are going to be born from uh, the people who came out of the programming and uh, are now coupling, and are not going to pass on the same programming to their offspring. So uh, that that's going to be one of the way to change the future through through uh, your generations, because we had to fight our programming. We had to fight our programming, break through it. Some people went through huge trauma just leaving Christianity or Islam, suffered mental illnesses. So I'm looking forward to seeing the children who don't have to go through that. The children who will accept, the children who will be educated differently, who will have a different worldview, African worldview, who will be taught uh, African history, positive African history before negative African history. That's what happens in uh, in the whole world. We get taught negative Black history before you get taught positive Black history. But some people don't even get taught. Actually, the majority don't get taught positive Black history. So I'm looking forward to the day when we actually have 1 to 3 to 5 million children who are born, and they do not have to go through that programming because their parents have gotten rid of that programming. Hello, hello.
Yeah, that'll be a great day. It's a second
Yeah,
generation.
I'm looking forward to it.
But I guess that's up to us now, because a lot of people don't, I've been seeing some stuff like in Africa, like a lot of them are just kind of disillusioned by what their parents, taught them. So like they're turning away.
Yeah. Once
And
once
I'm
you
not
learn
saying
about
it's a good thing to just like, do all that, but like, it's I could just like respect them as like, all right, fine, you have your beliefs, I have, my beliefs. And we could just keep it at that. I because like my thing is like I control what I teach my children. So whether, they disapprove or not, it's not really up to them, because they already did, they already raised me. Now I have children to raise, so and I'll teach them what I feel is right. And even my children, when they get older, they could just go their own way if they decide to. But I'm not going to force my beliefs. I'm just going to tell them what I believe. And at the end of the day, they do whatever they want with that. I'm not somebody that's like controlling or want them to do exactly what I need to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally understand. Uh, it's about teaching them the missing link, or uh, giving them an option or a different view, because they will never be able to get that view in the society that we're living in, or in the world that we're living in. Majority of African schools don't even teach their own people their history. They don't even teach their own people uh, about their local environment. So it's it's not about forcing the next future to to participate in African liberation. It's it's about just giving them what they're missing, and then letting them uh, make up their own minds in the future. But but as soon as you do give them the missing link, you do show them uh, what what has happened to Africa in the past, and then you discuss what has happened in Africa for the past 60 to 70 years. It will paint a clear picture on 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 the future of Africa, because they will see whether or not the future of Africa is in their hands, or is in is in the hands of foreign individuals. But yes, to Niger, Kaiser, are you guys there, or are you guys chilling? Okay, so yeah, that's all I wanted to pass on as a message, just to not to be in despair, because a lot of our brothers and sisters are still under a colonial programming. They're still under uh, uh, ooh, Kaiser, you there? Okay, yeah. So that's what I was saying. A lot of our brothers and sisters are still in that colonial programming, because the the imperialists, or the colonizers, came in with the Bible for a specific reason. They came in with the Bible for a specific reason, to change the political organization of African states, to change the religious ideas of African states. By doing that, you you remove you remove central centralized organizations, or you remove the 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 key the key mechanisms that were used to run African countries. That was the religion, and the politics. So by removing hundreds and thousands of years of systems and replacing it with your own, you now have people who have to rely on you to sort out their own state affairs because they no longer have a political structure. They no longer have a religious structure to help them run their state. So they knew exactly what they were doing when they came into Africa. So a lot of our brothers and sisters are still under those colonial programming. They have no idea how to get out of the current conditions that we're in. They have no places to gather to discuss these things. So the church is not that place. The mosques are not those places. So we need to actually establish places for our brothers and sisters, like Kaiser is doing, to discuss these things. And that is what going back to African spirituality or pan, you can say pan-African or African politics or African ideologies. It's all centered around nationalism. That's what Africa was always about. So we have to encourage our brothers and sisters to just jump onto our side, and they can keep the religion. You can keep your identity. You can be Muslim. You can be Christian, but also take on that African identity, the African nationalism. That's why you basically need to learn African history for you to take on African nationalism. So that's all I have to say. Anybody else would like to say anything? If not, I will be signing out.
All right. So that was it. So so thank you everyone. See you on the next one.
Okay now. To person between my pen. I see. I see what the wedding for game. Okay. Papa you look at him. And then you get ya. Mama musi na ngwambe to go kwa. Aka na ngwamu jelumba. Owe butike. Aka nilu ne butilo wanemu.